Black first, my brothers and my sisters. This is the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. Thank you for watching because we have much to discuss. Cory Booker has broken a record for a Senate hearing. He's broken a record. He stood there and gave a speech for over 25 hours. He's breaking records for the Democratic Party, and everybody is amazed. Everybody is inspired by his courageous motivating speech of absolutely nothing, at least nothing that has anything at all to do with black issues.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Okay, so we're going to have to discuss this. This is something that everybody's talking about. Everybody was making this big deal about, oh my God, he broke these records, and oh my God, this is so amazing. Look at what Cory Booker has done. And when you actually look into the details of it, everybody was talking about it. And first off, I'm going to preference this by saying, did I watch the whole thing? No. I have a lot better things to do with 24 hours. If I had 24 hours of free time, I could spend it a lot wiser than watching 24 hours of absolutely nothing, at least nothing that has to do with black people. He stood there. Can anybody who's amazed, anybody who thought that this was some amazing step of revolution, quote something he said? Can we quote something he said? Can we name something he said? Is anything he said relevant? Did he introduce any profound bill? Did he introduce anything that was amazing? Can we? Because my thing is this: if he did, then let's give him his props. But he has not. He didn't. We're going to be discussing that, and then stick with us because we're also going to be discussing everybody's favorite sister girl, Jasmine Crockett's back at it again. She's going around and she's talking about the greatness of the immigrant community. She's going around and she's doing that. Now, before we get started with any of that stuff, what do I need from you all? What would I appreciate from every single last one of you all? I would greatly appreciate if you guys hit that thumbs up button, that like button, all of that. While you're doing that, I'm going to play the copyright disclaimer, so everything we play thus forth will be protected under the guise of fair use. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, Cory Booker, he broke this record. What a lot of people theorize, Cory Booker is trying to make a run for higher office, potentially the presidency again. He's trying to do that again. So right now you have a lot of the people in the Democrats, a lot of them are just doing the most. They're absolutely really acting out. They're acting out in order to get an interview on the Breakfast Club. They're acting out in order to get some type of name on the headlines and all that stuff. They're really acting out. That's really what they're doing. If we're going to be very, very honest with you, that's what they're doing. They're all acting out. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Now, let's go back. I want to do a rewind. I want us to go back, and we're going to look at some of the things that Cory Booker has discussed as far as reparations, because if Cory Booker is for reparations, he should have our support, shouldn't he? He should have our support. So let's actually look at Cory Booker and his record for reparations. I want to start off with this one right here.
Candidates that are talking about reparations.
Yes.
Do you support reparations for black people?
I support reparations. I support economically designed programs with race as a conscious part of them that balance the scales and address past ills, not just slavery, but even things that were going on until the 50s, 60s, in 70s that were specifically race-conscious programs that were designed to disadvantage African Americans. So if you
listen, we're not going to do that. We are absolutely not going to do that. We're not. All of these, well, reparations, I really support race conscious programs that first off, what does it mean to be race conscious? Because you can't do anything according to the Constitution based off of race anyway. So when you say, yeah, it's got to be a race conscious program, okay, that's going to get shut down. And even if it doesn't, the race conscious program, you're going to include all of these other people. That's not what, oh man, my bad. That's not what all of these other groups of people got. That's not what you guys gave the Asian community. Y'all didn't give them race conscious programs. Y'all didn't give the immigrants that's just been coming over here just getting money and resources to hand over fish. Y'all didn't give them race conscious programs when all of these other groups of people get harmed, get disenfranchised. Not to the degree that we have, but when they go through any bit of hardship, they get very specific things. They get direct things because they were directly harmed. We have been directly harmed, okay? We have not been harmed through programs, okay? We have been set aside to be targeted by this system, by this country. So we're not going to sit up here and be all like, well, we're going to have programs, but we're going to account for race. It's not the programs are based off of fixing racial issues. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but the programs are not meant to fix racial issues like the wealth gap and things like that. The program is supposed to help all people, but it's going to have like an extra thought about race involved. That's his reparations. And first off, if you could just look, I mean, who does podcasts like that? I'm sorry, what type of what type of podcast is this? I don't. Oh, I mean, y'all couldn't at least get a table. Is there something going on? I mean, y'all can be who you want to be, but is there something going on? Y'all didn't want to give a table. Listen. All I'm gonna say is if the interviewer was a woman, they would think that this is some type of flirtatious thing. I just wouldn't feel. Is it just me? Is it just me? Please don't say it's just me, y'all. Please, if y'all don't say it's just me. I know I'm not tripping on this one, but is this? I wouldn't even feel if I was Corey. I wouldn't even feel comfortable. Just you're in arm's reach, like. Y'all y'all can hear each other. Y'all don't need to be that damn close, man. This dude sitting with his legs crossed with it tight, like, come on, man. Okay. I just had to say it because we all thinking it. I'm not saying nothing that everybody else ain't thinking. I ain't saying nothing nobody else is thinking. We all thinking the same exact thing. So come on. All right, here let's continue though.
Programs that were designed to create the problems by excluding African Americans in housing, in mortgage loans, in access to capital. We need to have things with race in mind that are conscious to balance those scales and address those past ills.
What does that plan look like, and what are you proposing to do to explore reparations for Black people?
Well, I don't have all the answers, and I think that we should pull the best minds in America together to do them. So there's a bill you've heard mentioned a lot, H.R. 40. Well, we're announcing today that I am going to be the Senate champion, the Senate sponsor of the H.R. 40 bill in the Senate. I'm proud to be the person, and we've been working on this for a long time, to bring together the best minds to now support the Senate companion and hopefully get this bill passed into law. But I'm not waiting, because there's a lot of folks in my neighborhood who want the scales balanced now. And that's why I've been pushing a lot of legislation with specifically as I designed it to deal with these inequities. We need to.
Okay, continuing, before we continue, I'm gonna let them go. I just want to reestablish to everybody, because we always have to reestablish to people, because there are always newer people. So sometimes we have to take like small little breaks so we can do a recap for newer people who might be coming in, who might be new to the channel or whatever the case may be. And if you're new to the channel, thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate that. And I hope that you're subscribed. HR 40 is actually not reparations. HR 40 is a bill that is meant to set up a commission or a commission, a panel, a group of people to study the harms of slavery and the effects of slavery. And then those panel of people will come together and discuss recommended solutions. They're not concrete solutions. These are recommended solutions. They don't have to be cash payments. These could be, just like Corey was talking about, some type of program, race conscious program. It could be that. It could be some type of affirmative action or DEI or whatever new little program agenda thing that they want to come up with that really doesn't benefit us and benefits everybody else. So this is what HR 40 is. And then the people who actually approve of the recommendations, they have to then sign off on each and every single last one of the recommendations. We've already gone through this. Now, this interview was taken in 2019. But we've already gone through this very recently in California. In California, they did the whole thing. Gavin Newsom, he signed a commission, and everybody's all like, oh my God, that's so amazing, that's so amazing. He signed a commission. It was a whole thing. People were studying reparations. You even had people go up to the panel, and you had the FBA community in Los Angeles. They was going up there. They were advocating for reparations, talking about cash payments and how it needs to be paid. They made their recommendations, and some of the recommendations, actually, there was different recommendations. One that had a Freedmen's census that was going to collect data so we can make sure that the people who qualify are qualified, to help make sure people get through the qualification process. And then you also had cash payments. They didn't go through. They did not go through. The Congressional Black Caucus of California sat on their hands and let that bill just further away. Fly. The bill is dust. They allowed that to happen under the wishes of Gavin Newsom, because Gavin didn't want to sign no cash payment reparations. This was a stalling tactic. He didn't have no real agenda for Black people. He didn't even probably think it was going to get that far. And we've talked about this on this channel as well too. All right. It is all in the playlist I have of reparations. All of that stuff is in the playlist I have of reparations. All right. Now Gavin Newsom is struggling because his term is up and he can't really go nowhere else. But that's his karma. That's what he gets. Now, as far as right here, they're trying to do the same thing. Is HR 40 is just on the federal level of what happened with California. We already saw how they played a game with California, and it wasn't the Republicans who did it either. It was them. So we already know that game. We're not going to play that game again. So I just got to give a recap of exactly the HR 40 game, because that's the same thing to a smaller level that happened in California.
Figure out what the larger plan is. That's why I'm leading on the Senate version for HR 40. But right now, again, people in my community don't have time to wait. My baby bonds plan, which would be putting $1,000 into the bank accounts of every American child born.
Now listen to this. Listen to this. Okay, come on. Because we're talking about reparations. Then now he goes to his baby bonds plan. Let's listen to his baby bonds plan. Let's just hear him out, because maybe we being too harsh. So let's hear his baby bonds planned out. Okay, can we do that?
Again, people in my community don't have time to wait. My baby bonds plan, which would be putting $1,000 into the bank accounts of every American child born, and then based upon income, every year you can get deposits in that account. The lowest income people will get $2,000. With compounding interest, by the time a child is 18 years old, the lowest income kids would have upwards of $50,000 of wealth now to invest in things that create wealth, generational wealth, education, buying a home, starting a business. As Columbia University analyzed that, it would collapse the racial wealth gaps between blacks and whites. That would make a real difference in this community where so many children are born below the poverty line.
Man, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. If there is a racial wealth gap, that in Dr. Claude Anderson, shout out to Dr. Claude Anderson. He's made multiple books about this. Dr. Claude Anderson has explained to us the racial wealth gap has started years and years ago. It really started during slavery and then after slavery, where they have all the dominant society has all of the wealth, and they have locked all of the wealth out. They've locked us out of the market when it comes to a lot of things that would generate generational wealth. The capital, the businesses, the land, all of that stuff. we have been locked out of that. Okay, so that stuff needs to be an open market for real, not just this lie that it's an open market, but they be playing games. No, it needs to be a for real open market, and then we need to have the resources necessary to be a competitive class in this market. Dr. Clyde Anderson has made multiple books about this. This has been studied for many years. This is why we do not need a damn HR 40 bill, because we all know what we need to be doing. We all know what the solution really needs to be. We know this. So when you talk about, I'm going to do a baby bonds thing, let me tell you why that would be just a total mess up. That would just not work at all. It doesn't even make sense to recommend that. First of all, everybody don't got kids. Number one, but let's go to number two, right? Let's go to number two. A baby upon birth, this is across all races. So this is black baby, white baby, Asian baby, Hispanic baby, every baby, because this isn't going to be a race exclusive policy. Very important. A race exclusive policy, not. Okay. It's not even going to be race conscious like he was just talking about. So every baby is going to get a savings, an account, and then based off of income, the lowest would get $2,000 like every year, and of course you would put interest in that. Okay, that means the banks are going to absolutely love this, because they're not going to be able to pull this money out until they're 18 years old. The banks are going to just, they probably would love that idea. Okay, and I don't know where the money's, but let's say the banks are going to you're going to fund it with the federal government. Let's say that for the sake of the argument. Okay. So this baby would have to wait until they're 18 years old in order to pull out the money. And by the time they pull out the money, okay, you have $50,000, where you can do whatever you want to do with the $50,000. First off, here's the reason why that is such a flawed plan. We have people who need reparations today. We have people who need reparations now. Of course, we have to look out for the next generation. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to sit up here and be all like, well, we can't get reparations, so let's just put this into this plan. And then 18 years later, everybody is going to have $50,000. That's not going to help nobody. And that's not going to even close or collapse the generational wealth gap that he was just talking about, is because there's a gap, because this group of people is so much farther ahead than this other group of people. That's why there's a gap. That's why gaps exist, because one thing is far from another thing. They're not connected. They're far. That's what the definition of a gap. If you give every race of people the same baby bond thing, then everybody is going to succeed at the very least the same rate. And then if you don't do anything to dispel all of the little loopholes and the disparities when it comes to gaining businesses and gaining land and gaining these generational wealth items, you're going to actually expound on the generational wealth, because you're not giving the black community anything more than what you're giving the white community, who's already ahead. And if you don't take away all of the obstacles that the black community has when it comes to generational wealth, even though we're already behind, you're going to give us an equal boost that's going to push them further ahead, which is going to expound on the generational wealth gap. His plan, his baby bond plan, the generational wealth gap is going to be insane. And we don't have 18 years left with this generational wealth gap. You think we need 18 years, and then not only then, 18 years, and then the kid is 18. Let's say he's 18 years old, she's 18 years old, she decides to buy a home, he decides to go start a business or something like that. They still need at the very least another decade and a half before they can really start doing anything that would create generational wealth. They're not gonna 18 years old, bam, generational wealth. It's not gonna work like that. So in order for our community to even see the benefit of these baby bonds when they become 18, you would still need another decade or so for them to actually get the skills if they go to college, or maintain anything that's strongly rooted in the community that would benefit us. This plan will not work, and he knows it won't. He knows this plan won't work, which is why he doesn't recommend this with any other community, which is why we're the only people who, when we talk about reparations, we got to hear something about some baby bonds. Boy, okay. I digress. We're going to continue.
I just want to be perfectly clear, because many people are not sure where your position is. You definitely support reparations for Black people.
Yes.
And it's, it's bad when the interviewer had, because this is the third time, it's bad when the interviewer has to ask you multiple times, okay, you do support reparations, because clearly you're not making it abundantly clear to the interviewer that you do support reparations. He's clearly not. That's why the interviewer is like, okay, so that's a yes. And that's why he's saying it like for Black people, because his baby bonds thing isn't for Black people. Listen to how he says it again.
Because many people are not sure where your position is. You definitely support reparations for Black people.
Yes.
Okay. That the fact that he has to ask, that we're already in a couple minutes into the interview. Now listen, he just said yes, and then look at this. Look at this. Right after he says yes, let's listen to this.
You definitely support reparations for Black people.
Yes.
But right now, you are providing these other alternative plans until there's a comprehensive way to get those reparations for Black people, just to be clear.
Yeah, but we are having important discussions and debates. But I return to a low-income African-American community. My folks have urgent needs right now. You walk with me around my block. There are folks that need jobs. There are folks that need housing. There are folks that need economic opportunity. That's one of the reasons I stay rooted here. So I have a sense of urgency. And so that's why when I lead the Senate on marijuana reform,
your baby bonds is not going to fix none of those problems.
Make sure I get out there in front to lead, but talk to people about restorative justice. That's why I lead the Senate on issues of dealing with American poverty, but do it knowing that if I can do the right bills, they're going to have a disproportionate impact on communities of color.
Do you feel?
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? First off, he talks about marijuana reform, and it is true. It is true, and we can talk about it. It is true that the Black community is disproportionately targeted as far as marijuana offenses. Even though Black people don't smoke marijuana at a higher rate, Black people are incarcerated for selling and even using marijuana at a much higher rate than our white counterparts. All right. So that's true. That part is true. But if he's talking about marijuana reform or whatever the case is, then he's talking about these people need jobs. He didn't say nothing about the economy. He didn't say nothing. Then he talks about things to lift people out of poverty. That's not a racial thing. He's not talking about racial issues. He's talking about stuff that's going to, quote unquote, disproportionately benefit everybody. But is going to affect everybody, but then it's going to disproportionately affect Black people. Black people, let me say something before we continue. We were not disproportionate. Let me make sure y'all feel me when I say this. We were not disproportionately harmed. We were not disproportionately subjugated and oppressed. We were not disproportionately any of that stuff. We were directly targeted. That is not the same thing. That is not the same thing. We were directly singled out and then targeted unlike anybody else. We were not disproportionately anything, because when you say disproportionate, that means, well, everybody was getting it, but we were getting it more than everybody else was. There was things happening to us that was not happening to nobody else. They literally put drugs in the Black community. They wasn't putting drugs everywhere else. And then it was locking us up for like the rest of our lives for it. That's direct targeting. Well, when the white community, first off, they lowered the criminality disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, and we've already discussed that in a previous video. And then when it comes to like the meth and epidemic, now they want to talk about mental health and mental crisis and stuff like that. Now it's that even though they're the ones doing it, which is far worse than anything that was going on in the crack epidemic, it's far worse. We were disproportionately directly targeted. What do you think COINTELPRO was? Do you think COINTELPRO was somewhere everybody had to face? Everybody had a little version of COINTELPRO? Or do you think J. Edgar Hoover was targeting black people? Let me give you the answer to that. He was targeting black people. He directly said the biggest threat to America is black liberation, is black empowerment. That's what he said. Okay? We are directly targeted. Slavery was not a disproportionate thing. We were not disproportionately targeted or harmed during slavery. We were directly enslaved. It's not like everybody else was enslaved, but we were enslaved when everybody else was enslaved, but we just got a little more enslaved. Or we got whipped more than everybody else. We had to pick cotton for longer hours than everybody else. No, we was the only ones out there on the field. That's the thing. So when you talk about justice, justice needs to be compensatory. That means if it was direct harm, there needs to be direct compensation. Not no disproportionate compensation. You're going to give everything to everybody and then talk about, well, y'all get a little bit more if you really think about it. No, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. Let's continue.
Some of the presidential candidates are pandering to black people about the reparations conversation.
Yeah, look, again, my whole life career has been in black communities, and I've seen lots of people come into my communities to campaign for votes, and respect that. I support I'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is. I hope it's me. But this whole reparations conversation has been frustrating to me, who lives in an African American community where there are daily urgencies, that when we wake up, there is a sense of who's fighting for us. And so for this reparations conversation to be now reduced to a box people are checking on a presidential campaign, as opposed to a life purpose to try to balance the scales, to right the wrongs. I'm not calling into question any of the convictions of the other presidential candidates. Some of them are like family members to me. They fight in the trenches with me. They support these issues. But I'm talking about this larger conversation and how we're having it right now. As a guy that gets very frustrated and angry when I watch national conversations about things like marijuana, we're like, let's just legalize marijuana and not do.
Now he's going back to marijuana.
Do something to correct where everybody's seeing those issues and in the same voice talk about, hey, I'm doing this not just because I want to let adult users have access to marijuana, fine, but we should be doing this. The purpose of this is to address the historic, ongoing racist applications of marijuana laws in this country. I've been unapologetic in talking about that. I put in legislation years ago to address that. And now suddenly it's a presidential campaign, and we've reduced so many of these conversations about racial inequities and disparities to a check on a box. Do you support reparations? Yes. Next. No.
The interviewer kept having to, and that's the end of that, right? The interviewer literally kept having to go back to reparations, because every time Corey said something about reparations, and then he tried to pivot the conversation and steer it away from something that had to do with reparations. When the interviewer asked him about reparations, it was yes, reparations. And then you steered the conversation to, but okay, well, right now we're going to not talk about reparations because, I don't really know nothing about that. But we are going to talk about my baby bonds, and we're going to talk about my history fighting for marijuana justice. And then we're going to also talk about the poverty bills that will disproportionately affect black people. He kept steering the conversation off of reparations, which is why the interviewer had to keep going back to, okay, but this is about reparations, though. This is can we like stay right here? Can we stick to this lane right here, please? So can we talk about reparations right now, right here, please? That's why he had to keep doing that, because Corey kept changing the subject. He kept changing it, and he kept throwing it from reparations to something that had nothing to do with reparations, or even that was race-based, which couldn't work, or lineage-based. Everything was about everybody is everybody. He kept going back to these all lives matter policies. That wasn't it. because when Corey was running before, he also had another interview. Hold on the Breakfast Club. He had another thing on the Breakfast Club. Now listen to this.
CoreyBooker.com. Give $1, $2 because we're going to show.
Okay. Let me get to the super chat real quick before we really get started. Shout out to Sydney. Sydney says, "Why is that man sitting like a middle-aged white woman?" I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking. If you just look real quick, hold on. Let's just look real quick. Let me see if I can find a. Yeah, I see it. I do see it. I see it. He ain't ever beaten those allegations. Yeah, you can forget about beating those allegations, man. You can forget about beating those allegations. That, let me tell you that right now. Don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. You ain't beating those allegations. All right. But let's continue. Let's go back to the Breakfast Club.
Show them. Go to CoreyBooker.com. Give $1, $2 because we're going to show that the people, we can do this.
Does Cory Booker have a specific agenda for black people? And if so, what is it?
Look, man, I as an African American, as a black person, so much of the realities for all Americans, if you look at through the lens of African Americans, they've been in many ways the conscience of this country from its founding. When we said we were going to be a nation of liberty and justice.
Before he continues, because he gonna babble, I just want to brace y'all. Anytime somebody, it's a very simple thing. If you don't start saying what your agenda for black people are, you don't have one. It's a very direct thing. If somebody says, well, what is your agenda for black people? Well, this is the plan I have for this problem. This is the plan I have for this problem. Then I want to do this for the for the kids over here. I want to do something else for the elders over here. Then I want to make this bit. If you can, this man is a senator, so he's used to this stuff. So the question about what is your agenda specifically for black people shouldn't throw him off. But it threw him off. That's why he had to like kind of laugh it off, like, oh my God, I'm thrown off. It's like he wasn't thinking that. If you have a black agenda, you should be able to easily say that. Now, what's interesting, because he's going to go on the whole spill. What's interesting about this is when you ask somebody, oh, what is your agenda for the immigrants, the immigrant community that's coming in? What are your plans about DACA, or what are your plans about the Dreamer program, or all this stuff? They can go on. They don't have to talk about, oh, immigrants are so necessary. And they will talk about the policies. Oh, well, we need to get them jobs. We need to get them licenses. We need to get them housing. We need to get the kids in school. We need to do boo up the bam. They can talk about all that. They can talk about all of that. Now, when it comes to black people, or when it comes to LGBT, they do the same. Well, what do you think about, or what is your agenda for the LGBTQ plus AI community? Well, my plan is that we're going to have to put more funding into organizations that's dedicated to helping them and advocating for them. Well, I want to put more money into the Pride thing. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? I want to expand gay marriage to something. They will talk about specific things. They want a transgender bathroom. They want boys and girls in sports or whatever. And they will talk about that stuff. All right. But when it comes to black people, then it becomes a thing of, well, I've always been black. I have always been, but if anybody had a question about when I became black, like they do about Kamala, I want you to understand that I've always been that way. And as a black person, I've always saw things as a black person. And because I'm a black person, I understand what life is like as black people. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And what we have to do is establish that it's not fair and keep going with that. But he's going to babble. Let's listen to what he has to say about the very simple, direct question: what is your agenda for black people?
They've been in many ways the conscience of this country from its founding. When we said we were going to be a nation of liberty and justice for all, the African American experience challenged the inadequacy of those words when it met reality. And so right now, you pick an issue. from maternal mortality rates to incarceration, the broken criminal justice system, to access to health care. You see African Americans having worse outcomes, and you address the issues of Americans, power African Americans, the very promise of America becomes real. And let me give you an example of this, a very specific example, because politicians give platitudes all the time. One of the main reasons, I didn't shy away from this, my pollsters told me it wasn't a big issue on the minds of New Jerseyans, but I ran telling people I was going to Washington to do something about mass incarceration. And they said, well, it's not a big issue, but we came down there, and for years, I've been a senator for over 5 years, I worked, and just last Congress, we finally got a bill done. Now, it doesn't solve the problem, but it's the first time in our lifetime, after the prison population going up 500%.
Do y'all see? I'm talking about this man sidestepped that question. He didn't even touch the question. This man dodged that question like he was Neo in the Matrix dodging bullets. This man dodged you don't know what his plan. The thing is that when somebody asks you, what is your agenda or what is your plan? By the time you're done with your statement, the person who asked you that question should know what your plan is. Every time we do this with these Democratic politicians, they go into this life story about, well, you know, when I was 16 years old, I applied at McDonald's and they didn't want to hire me. They didn't want to put me in the front at the cash register. I was in the back in the freezer and it was cold and they didn't even want to give me a coat. So I had to use my old coat, but that was really my big brother's coat and it had holes in it because he fell off a bike one day. Like, it's always some type of crazy story, some life story that has nothing to do with the question. He's not answering this question. Just keep this in mind. And he's a politician, so he knows how to answer direct questions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been elected to the Senate.
Between the time I was in law school and the time I was mayor of Newark, we were building a new prison in this country like every 10 days. Finally, we have legislation that I was able to get done with people on the other side of the aisle that starts tearing down the institution of mass incarceration. So much of my life is about where I live. I'm the only United States senator who lives in an inner city community, black and brown community, below the poverty line.
By choice.
Now you see that's the black and brown. And I will say, Charlemagne didn't ask, what is your black and brown agenda? The black and brown, and the other interview, he said people of color. So when he specifically asked about black people's issues, the black agenda, reparations for black people, he blacks and browns it. Well, yeah, and you got to understand this disproportionately affects people of color. And I live in a black and brown community, and all of this black and brown stuff, okay.
By choice.
By the way, and how
because you never forget the people that got you first into office. My very first office, I was city councilman in the Central Ward of Newark. They took a chance on me. I was this kid from the suburbs, coming from Yale Law School, and this is a community that put their faith in me, and I will not lose the focus of what got me into politics in the first place, the people and the urgencies that got me to run for office.
So you have a specific agenda for these black people.
I have
and like I tell you, it is so damn bad on you if they have to ask you a second time. The other guy in the interview had to ask this dude like 3 times specifically about reparations. And Charlemagne, we all know Charlemagne be here and there and all of that stuff. But Charlemagne knows, like, hey, dude, I'm not getting no direct answer from you. I ask you, do you have an agenda? And you go in this long life story thing, and I don't even know what to take from that. But do you have, now this is the second time Charlemagne asks what your agenda for black people is. And listen to his answer.
Politics in the first place, the people and the urgencies that got me to run for office.
So you have a specific agenda for these black people.
I have a specific agenda for the American people, which
okay. Do you have a agenda for black people? Oh, I have an agenda for the American people.
Includes uplifting black people.
Yeah, but we've seen that,
right? But that includes uplifting black people. Where have we heard that before? That sounds really familiar to me. I wonder where we heard that before.
Separable.
They always say rising tide lift all boats. We don't really see that in our communities.
Well, let me give you an example. I have a bill that got a lot of attention called baby bonds. It's a fancy name for saying.
Okay. Here we go with the baby boomers. Okay. Here we go.
That every person born in America should have an account created for them, thousands of dollars put in over time, $1,000 a time. And at the end, if you are low income American, you have up to $50,000. And that addresses all Americans, but it actually helps the racial wealth gap in a significant way. You know, right now in America, you have about white families in terms of wealth. I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about wealth. Blacks have about 1/10 of the wealth that white families do. In Boston, the average median wealth of a white family is about $250,000, a little more than that. The average wealth of an African American family is $8. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, that they just look at the present moment," but they forget that a lot of the programs that built the middle class in this country, African Americans were excluded from FHA programs, even many of the things that veterans returning from World War II were able to take advantage of. You had devaluations of African American communities through mortgage lending and the like. So by addressing this problem with an idea.
Now, what's interesting about this, and that's why I let it play for so long, he's going to bring up how black people specifically were excluded from the things that benefited the country, like the GI Bill and all of this stuff and resources and redlining and all of that. So these are things that specifically have harmed us exclusively. But the solution to our specific harm, our exclusive harm, is a universal solution and everybody gets something. That's what he's saying.
Of creating savings accounts for every child born in America. It helps all children, but it dramatically helps African Americans as well. And I'll give you the last example of this is that criminal justice bill that I just did, making the retroactive, that crack cocaine, powder cocaine disparity fix. 90% of the people benefited from that are African Americans because the criminal justice system is biased towards African Americans. So when you fix the system, you help poor white folks who get screwed by the system as well. But disproportionately, you're going to help those people that are most affected by an unjust criminal justice.
How do you use the model of Newark?
No, and that's it. That's it. We're not playing that game. We're not going to sit here and play this disproportionate game. This is why Cory Booker, he can stand there for 25 hours. He can stand there for 26, for 30 hours. We don't give a damn. What are you specifically doing for us? Everybody's like, oh, thank you, Cory, for standing there and saying absolutely nothing besides the fact that you don't like Donald Trump, which we already knew that. But thank you. No, absolutely not. And this is something that the Democratic politicians are known to do when they're asked the direct question when it comes to black people. Because when it comes to other groups of people, when they're asked a direct question about, well, what do you think about immigration? What do you think about what do you think about LGBT, the middle class, women's reproductive rights? They will have a very direct answer, But when you ask about black people, oh, then it becomes this long thing about, well, you have to understand black people's pain. We have to understand black people's pain. So it becomes this like history lesson. And why they do that is because they know black people are used to being ignored. They know black issues are used to being downplayed, ignored. We as a community are used to being told to just shut up and get over it and don't cause any problems. So they understand that for too long, black people have looked for acknowledgement. And if somebody just acknowledges that we are going through some problems, if somebody just acknowledges the existence of racism, then what would happen after that? The follow-up would be a solution to these problems. That's what naturally we would think, because naturally people think, well, if you acknowledge that a problem exists, you're not just going to leave it there. That's what you would think, but that's not how they operate. They don't actually operate like that. They actually will leave the problem there. With this same talking point is very reminiscent of this clip right here.
Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners. Because the disparities are so significant.
See, that is literally, you could think they're on the same team, because that's exactly what Corey said. That is exactly what Corey said. Oh, well, if we hook everybody up, if we do something for everybody, it will directly benefit black people in a way that it's not going to benefit everybody else somehow, some way, because black people are more harmed and black people have the worst part of the disparity. So if we just help everybody, if we give everybody $10, the $10 is going to be $20 to a person who doesn't have any money because they don't have any money. That's what she's saying.
So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it.
Oh, that's that race conscious talk. That's that race conscious talk that Cory Booker was talking about. Oh, I agree with race conscious programs. That's exactly what she said. Oh, if we understand, that's exactly why we're doing it. That's exactly what she just said. That's the same race conscious thing.
That's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
And that's why she lost the election. Right there. Right there. That's exactly why she lost the election. Now, Corey didn't actually say no. He just babbled. He was able to successfully babble. Kamala got like triggered a little bit. And that's what no. So when the people bragging about, oh my God, thank you, Corey. Thank you for standing up for our rights. And thank you for doing all of this and all of that. Man, no. Because Corey ain't standing up for no black people's rights. As a matter of fact, it's offensive. Because you'll talk about everything that benefits other groups of people. You will literally put your body through standing there, and not only just standing there, but standing there and speaking coherently for over 25 hours. For 25 hours to break a record. Really to raise your own profile. But you don't mention, you ain't going to do that for black people. They will go above and beyond and won't do anything for black people. And speaking of people who have absolutely no type of black agenda, we got to talk about our favorite Congresswoman, sister girl, Jasmine Crockett. So, yep, we got to talk about her again. Jasmine Crockett was at an anniversary of a church, and she was speaking at an anniversary of a church, and she had said some things about immigrants. But before she said some things about immigrants, she said something else. And I want to play for you, not the whole thing, because she was speaking for like close to about 30 minutes, really. But I'm going to play a bit of it before the viral clip. All right. So here we go.
To be honest, to be perfectly honest, as somebody who practiced.
I can't. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Jasmine. I don't know if it's professional or not. I don't know. Maybe you should wear a hat, Jasmine. I think hat. I think hats would look good on you. I think maybe a hat or something. Maybe you should wear a hoodie or something. I don't know, Jasmine. It's just. I mean, I could get maybe once or twice, but Jasmine, this is something you starting to be known for. Come on now. Your stylists hate you, apparently. Jasmine, come on now. Why does your wig look like there's like static shock going on in the room? Now, come on. And you know you was going to be on camera. Okay, all right. God bless her soul. Lord have mercy. Okay. Ain't nobody just pull you to the side and be like, "Are you okay?" Like, let's not be distracted. I just couldn't. It's just, why is one? It's just sticking out. It's not even laid down. It looks like it fell off and she picked it up. I don't know why it looked like you just got out of. I don't know. Maybe hats might be her thing. I think maybe hats might be her thing. I think that's what she should start investing in with all of that money she got. I think hats might be her thing.
This criminal defense work, I can go into a jail.
Like, what is that? I can't even focus. What is that? What am I tripping? Am I tripping? What is that? What? Come on now. Y'all know it's not just me. Y'all know it's not just me. You look like you in a Tyler Perry movie. Come on. And we know you got the money and you the only person in Congress we see looking like this. You look like you went to school and said, my mama did my hair. Wow, come on. I'm talking about you need to wear hats. It looked like you just took a hat off. I see girls looking better leaving the gym than this. Come on. Their hair is more together after jogging and squatting and lifting weights and doing push-ups and sit-ups, and their hair is still more straight than this. What? Come on. Does anybody, this is a church, and y'all know how the black folk be in the church. There's a whole bunch of sisters in there, and they got a brush and a comb. First off, something about our women that I know for a fact off of experience is that they gonna have something to get they're gonna have something to get their hair done. They might not have a whole blow dryer in their purse, but there's gonna be some type of comb. There's gonna be some, especially older women. Because the thing is that younger women, and I'm gonna digress for a little bit. Younger women, it depends. Sometimes they like to look cute with the small little handbags and stuff like that to match their outfit. Older women don't care about that. They don't care about that. Older women have big purses with big things in it. Older women don't care about the little. They will have the handbag in the big purse. I know this, and we all know this because we know our culture. We know how we do. The older sisters have the big bags. They will have everything in those bags, okay? They got everything they need to fix your hair up. Now, if the young women, sometimes when they do hair, they always have like some type of brush or a comb. If you in a church, you know there's some older sisters who got a brush, a comb, a fine tooth comb. Oh, they some hairspray. They probably got some hairspray in the whole thing. Yeah, they could have walked to the bathroom real quick and straightened you up. That's not presentable. That's not presentable, Jasmine. Come on now. You know how when we go out, and this is our culture, right? Y'all know how when we go out and our parents would make sure we would be like some of the most well-dressed things, because our parents would get mad if we don't look good going outside. If we went out to some event, if we went out anywhere and you don't look good, if your shirt got a spaghetti stain on it or something, your parents get mad at you. Why does your shirt got a stain on it? Now, if you at the house, your shirt can have a stain on it, your socks can have holes in it. Well, not necessarily. I ain't gonna be too dramatic about that, but they ain't like that. When you leave this house, you need to look like $1 million. It don't matter if you poor. Our family put a lot of money into presentation. Our culture puts a lot of money into presentation. We can live in poverty. Lights be on sometimes, lights be off sometimes. Okay? The rent is behind sometimes, the rent is not behind sometimes. But when you leave that house, you're going to look like you got $1 million. You're going to look like $1 million. That's how we do. And we all know it. Everybody in the chat room, if we do that, put a 100 emoji in the chat room. If I'm wrong, if I'm right. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. If I'm right, put 100 emoji in the chat room, because this is how we was raised. This is how we was raised. Okay. You know, and not only that, you go outside and first off, you go outside and you smell a little weird. You go outside and your shirt's all messed up. They gonna fix you right there. They gonna give you that little pinch on your arm to let you know you better represent. You better look clean. Okay? They got your face all moisturized. They don't care about moisturize. Your face don't be you be ashy as hell at the house. You could be ashy at the house. When you leave the house, you better not be ashy. You better not be ashy when you leave the house. Okay, foundational Black Americans, we got a thing about being ashy, like nobody else. That is something in our culture that we really have a thing with. We do not appreciate being ashy. Okay, and ain't nobody else like it. We got like a phobia of ash. We cannot stand being ashy. We don't want nobody to see us being ashy. We feel so ashamed of being ashy. It is insane. And y'all all know we do that. Y'all all know. Come on now. Okay. The second we see, if we look at our hands and it can be cold outside, we look at our hands and we see some ash. You know how you get the ash in between the thumb and the index finger. Come on now, we human beings though. You get the ash in between the thumb and the index finger. We put our hands in our pocket the whole time. Oh, wait till you get some Vaseline. Wait till I get some lotion or something like that. Okay. Y'all already know. We don't like people seeing us ashy. So we are very presentable people. And circling back to this is Jasmine Crockett. We are very presentable people. Okay. So who is letting you leave the house like this? Who is letting you leave the house like this? Come on now. And then you said your daddy is a pastor. So that means you was probably in the church all the time. So if you was in the church all the time and your father is a pastor, you should be super presentable. Because it's not like you just always in the church. Your family is very important in the church. Your family is a pastor in the church. So that means you represent your father who's the pastor. So there's no way you could have looked like this. But like I said, this is a character that she's trying to fit because she knows this character goes viral. So you got to fit the girl who can't really dress well and her wigs look like they were shipped from Temu or something like that. Man, come on now. You first off, you're not going to do anything with this. You're not doing nothing with this. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. But I digress. She ain't even started talking yet. And it's just the wig has been distracting me. Let's focus, y'all. Okay, we locked in. We locked in.
Sale and holler at somebody and meet them on their level, or I can go to a C-suite. I'm pretty universal in kind of where all I can go. And I'm gonna be real and tell you that I walked into some barbershops and I talked to some brothers, and I specifically remember being in Philly one time. I walked into this barbershop and this barber had a cute little daughter running around. And I said, you planning on voting? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, so what you thinking? He was like, well, I don't know just yet. I think I'm going to vote for her. I'm like, okay, well, what's the problem? And he said, well, the trans people, they the problem. Now here's the reality, church. I hear some of y'all moaning and groaning. I know Black church, y'all. I know how we are, okay? And you ain't got to admit it, okay? Because I know. So you don't have to admit it. But literally, and even if we take it out of church.
Okay. First off, if not being able to read the room was a person, it would be Jasmine. You're in a church. And this isn't one of those like new modern churches that kind of bend the rules a little bit. These are old school church folk. You're at an anniversary, a 125-year anniversary of a Baptist church. And you talking about some trans folk. Now, we've heard the story. I've played the story on another podcast, on another live, where she talked about the whole barbershop thing. But if this is not the absolute worst place to sit up there and be advocating for trans kids in sports, is crazy. You don't know, this is probably not even if this is what you believe in with your whole heart, this is probably not the best place to talk about that. That's why she had to address, I hear some sighs in the room. Yeah. Because first off, most people don't agree with all that stuff, and especially not folk at church. You in a church speaking about something that the Bible talks against. The Bible don't promote men and women gender fluidity. That's not what the Bible promotes. That's not what the Bible teaches. That is not what the Bible teaches. And you in the church as the daughter of a pastor speaking about that. You better be glad all people did was kind of sigh. First off, it's a dead issue. I don't know why you keep bringing this up. And this is something that Jasmine she won't leave it alone. She will not leave the subject of trans kids, advocating for trans kids alone, for what she is very passionate about that. Won't leave it alone. This ain't even an interview when nobody even asked you about this. You're in a church volunteering this information. If this is not, if you cannot read the room, this has got to be the worst place to bring this up. But man, come on. Actually, let me get to real quick. Let me get to the other super chat I got from Sydney again. She says there are two types of panicking. Standing still and not saying a word and leaping all over the place, babbling anything that comes to your head. Yeah. That when you're afraid, that's very true. Thank you for that. When you're afraid, some people freeze up and don't want to move, and they just get like scared. They feel like if they move at all or cause any attention to themselves, they're in danger. And then other people, they just start like acting sporadic. That's true. And this is what happens when you ask them about reparations. They start either freezing up or acting sporadic.
When we talk about Black culture, I'm going to be real with you and tell you that Black culture has never really been one that has embraced the LGBTQIA community. This is just a reality. I ain't looking for agreement or disagreement. I'm telling y'all, I know the facts. And so I had to talk to this brother, and I said, okay. I was like, nah, what you talking about? And so
not to get too off subject, but can we discuss this for a second? Because when they say we have not embraced the rainbow community, we embraced the alphabet community, right? In comparison to who? In comparison to who? Can we give an example of a community that it has more positive reception, generally has more positive reception of the rainbow community segment of their people? Can we? Okay, because when they say embrace, what does that mean? Let's actually understand the definition of what she's saying. When they say embrace, what does that mean? Because we don't disenfranchise gay Black people. Now, all of the you can't live here and you can't get married and all of the laws and stuff like that they would have, and we're not going to rent this apartment to you because you're gay and all that stuff, that was done by the white community. Anytime you talk about any type of systematic disenfranchisement, which is not that much, there were gay slave owners, but even anytime you talk about the systematic disenfranchisement of the LGBT QAI community, it's by white people. It's by them. What do we do besides literally not agreeing? Let's be honest. But what can Black people do to other gay Black people besides disagreeing with them systematically? You know, now, of course, there are some people who are like over the top and everything like that, and they always, talking about them or whatever the case is. I'm not going to say that don't exist, because we have situations like that have occurred. But as a collective, it's always, well, you already know Black people. Yeah, Black people, for the most part, just like everybody else, for the most part, there's a lot of Black people who do not agree with that lifestyle. It's a lot of Black people who do not agree with that lifestyle. It's a lot of Black people who don't agree with a lot of lifestyles that people live today. Okay? But when you say we haven't accepted it, what do you mean? What have we done? Now at this point, it's not like you're forcing us to stop doing something, because we're not actively doing something to disenfranchise them. You want us to accept what a lot of people in the black community don't accept. Okay? Because let's be honest, when we talk about the trans bathroom stuff, black people ain't in control of that. We're not in control of that. We're not in control of the transports and all of that stuff. We're not in control of the gender affirming surgery care, whatever they call that. We're not in control of that. It's just our opinions. You're literally getting on us about our opinions rather than getting on the people who actually make the laws and the bills and the legislation and enforce them against said group of people. No, and this is why you're not going to have the reception that you want to have, is because when you talk about that stuff, you're pushing an agenda, and the agenda is not something that's uplifting the black community as a collective. You're pushing an agenda that's going to benefit really mainly the white folk, but a segment of black people who happen to intersect with that community. And you're in a church talking about advocating for trans. What type? I don't know how you can't see that. I don't know how you cannot see that, Jess. I just don't. Just don't.
So he proceeded to tell me about one of these ads that was running over and over and over, and it was something with her and trans people. And I said, do you know that he was paying for the trans people to get their operations in the prison? He said, what? I was like, now listen, now y'all know how I like to have my receipts. So Kendall was with me. So I said, just Google New York Times, Trump, and trans, and you'll find the New York Times article that talked about what he actually was doing. And so then I explained it to him. I said, let me tell you something. I said, when people go to prison, they always are supposed to have access to their life-saving care, whatever that may be. So if for some reason there is a transition that was taking place, it must have been to the extent that it was life-saving at that point in time, because otherwise it could be considered cruel and unusual punishment. But the point is, you don't ever get no ads that are going to go that deep or anything like that. At the end of the day, I said, let me ask you this. You are raising this beautiful little girl. I'm assuming one day you want to own your own barbershop. He said, well, yeah. I said, so what does a trans person have to do with whether or not you got access to the capital that you need to provide for your daughter? So at that point in time, he looked at me like, huh. Yeah.
Okay. Let her talk. Let her talk. Okay. Take the let's get this off screen for a second, right? Hold on. All right. First off, I really need to look up the case she's talking about, because I've never heard of a situation, any medical situation in my entire life. I've never heard of anything remotely close in my entire life, ever, where someone was in some type of life altering, like dangerous situation, and the only way to save them was a gender reassignment surgery. I've never heard of that. I don't know what type of disease that is. I need to look that up, because that's dangerous. I need to find a way to avoid that. I've never heard of I needed to surgically redesign this person's gender to. I've never heard of that before. I don't know where she's getting that from. Oh no, this is life-saving care. I just don't. Now I'm not a doctor, and I could be wrong, but I've never heard of you needing to reassign somebody's gender. You need to surgically change someone's gender, their sex, to save their life. I just never heard of that. I need to find out whatever he was going through, so I can make sure I stay as far away from. I don't know what he was eating. I don't know if whatever he was doing, I need to find a way to stay far away from that, because I've never heard of, neither have you, neither has anybody, because it's a damn lie, that you need to change somebody's gender to save their life. That doesn't exist. That does not. Why you lying in the church? You going to hell. Why are you doing that? Why would you even bring that up? Like, people who ain't got the sense enough to know that that don't make sense. That, oh, well, clearly they must have had to save his life by cutting his thing off. by cutting his private parts off and then stitching it together and making it like a female's, that's saving his life? How? What was going on with him that he needed that to be cut off and then something to be put? What was going on? Can you explain what type of disease that was? Because we've never heard of that. Why would you even lie like that? Why would you make that up? That's a dumb lie. That's a childish lie. You would have been better just not bringing that story up. Why? Come on. This why ain't nobody listening. Come on now. Ain't nobody listening to that. Nobody. Then she goes on to talk about, well, don't you want to own the barbershop? Don't you want to own the barbershop? Yeah. Okay. Well, how was a trans person getting in the way of that? I guess not. I don't know where anybody is saying, nobody is ever saying that trans people are the bane of everybody's existence. Nobody is saying that trans people are literally the problem for everything. And the reason you do not succeed in life is because of trans people. Nobody's making that argument. But if a father takes his girl to school and she, let's say, it runs track and she could be a champion, she could win first place and get a nice big first place trophy. And in fact, she comes home with a second place trophy because she got beat by a male. I will be upset with that. If my daughter is competing in some type of sport, it would be different if this was the spelling bee. It would be different if this is the chess club. It would be different if this was the debate team. But if my daughter is competing in some type of physical sport and gets beat by a male, I'm going to have an issue with that. I'm not going to see that as being fair. And nobody else. There's not a single person who you can say who has a daughter who would say, I wouldn't have an issue if my daughter lost to a trans girl or trans whatever, the transgendered boy or something. Everybody would have a problem with that because that's just sense. That's not fair to say. So why would you even bring this up? Now she's going to get to the immigrants thing. Oh, and shout out to Cyberdon for the Cash App. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much.
Okay, you're right. The point is, I couldn't have enough of those conversations around the country. The point is that I'm trying to make is that they were allowed to divide us. They were allowed to play on people's emotions. And so they were allowed to get you riled up and distracted. And the reason that I bring it up is because that's what they did to win. And right now, they are doing everything they can to do the exact same thing. They're getting you riled up emotionally. They are getting you distracted. When at the end of the day, they are hurting all of us. I'm sorry, but there is no excuse for going after Social Security. There is no excuse to go after Medicaid and Medicare. And for my Teacher of the Year, there is no excuse to go after the Department of Education. So let me be clear. They want y'all to sit here and get riled up and say, well, he didn't kept the kids from playing with each other. The trans kids, they can't play with the other kids.
Listen. Can somebody explain to me what a trans kid is? Can the trans kids playing with the other kids? Where are these trans kids? Who are the parents of the trans kids? The kids who are trans. I'm be real. I wouldn't agree with that. If I had kids, no. If I had kids, first off, I'm gonna be very selective of who my kids can kick it with, who my kids can actually play with, what other kids they can play with. Okay. But no, I'm gonna say no. I don't care. I'm their father. I don't care what anybody else think. You're not their father. I am. No, it would be a flat out no to me, and I'm sure it's a flat out no to everybody else in this room. They just not saying it.
When have y'all ever looked to the president to figure out who's gonna play on the playground? Right? Or to have someone come at you and say things like, the immigrants are still in the black jobs. They taking the black jobs. That's what they said. And the ones that wasn't taking the black jobs, you know what they were doing? They were killing. Oh yeah, they was eating the dogs. They was doing that too. They was eating the dogs. They was eating the cats. And then they bringing all the crime to your community as well. So all the rapes, all the robberies, all the thefts, all the gangs. That's who it is. It's the immigrants.
Okay. Before she continue with that, let me chop this up. The whole they're taking the black jobs. Have we not have lives about that? Are they committing all ALL 100% of the crimes? No, they're not. Are they not committing any crimes? That is the question, and they are. We've seen videos of them running up and taking apartment buildings and stuff like that. Yes, they are. So either it's got to be all of the crime or it doesn't matter at all. Since when has any country on this planet done that? Name a single country that just allows people to come in just willy-nilly and say, well, if they're not committing all of the crimes, 100% of it, then that means they're not committing any, zero. It's either 100% or zero. But I'm going to let her go.
It's a lie. Again, they were able to divide us. Because any black person that knows their history should know that at some point in time in history, they looked at us and they acted as if we were less than. They acted as if we were some kind of aliens. They acted as if we had a higher proclivity to commit crimes. They acted as if we were incapable of learning. That's what they did to us. So who are we to sit and say that we're going to do that to somebody else?
Man, no. And I let it play that long because we're gonna talk about that part now. All of this, well, they did, and they've done everything she just said is correct, that they have done that to us. Everything she's saying is correct. They have done all of that stuff to us. And then she says, who are we to do that to somebody else? We're not doing that to anybody else. Don't compare what has happened to us, our inhumane subjugation. We're not treating anybody like they're less than a human being. We're not treating anybody like they're some subhuman cattle. We were treated like really worse than, to be very honest, we were treated like we're worse than cattle. Like animals, literally worse than animals. They didn't beat animals like they beat black people. We were treated worse than it was inhumane what we had to experience, what our ancestors had to experience. We had to keep on fighting just for decency and to be considered human beings. We are not putting anybody else remotely close to the subjugation that we had to suffer. We're not doing that at all. We don't want to do it, and we're not doing it. So it's disrespectful for her to even imply that we shouldn't be doing what they did to us, because we're not. We don't want to, and we're not. But there are laws. There are laws. There are immigration laws. We have borders for a reason. There's not a single country in this world that doesn't have a border. We have borders for a reason. There are laws when it comes to crossing the border. There are laws when it comes to immigrating into this country. For us to sit here and say we are just going to ignore all of the immigration laws because we don't want to be the bad guys like they were the bad guys to us is wrong. We're saying, hey, immigrants, y'all breaking the law. How are we the bad guys for saying that they're breaking the law, which the Democrats actually acknowledged? Y'all breaking the law. And then not only after they break the law, they come to our communities, Chicago, New York, okay? Those are the main ones. You got some in the Denver, Colorado, a lot of other black communities as well. Not only y'all coming over here, our government that's supposed to be helping us out, our government that owes us money is breaking their back to help them. I'm talking about to the degree that they're going into billions of dollars worth of debt. I was in DC, in the Capitol, During the hearing where Eric Adams and everybody was talking about, yeah, we spent over $6 billion on them. I'm talking about Eric Adams was the only one honest enough to like really say it for real. Yeah, $6 billion in taxpayer money. And you got Baltimore up there, not wanting to say anything. Chicago mayor up there, Denver mayor up there, not wanting to really say anything. I was there. They didn't want to say nothing. And they're spending money, and we got to suffer from the lack of resources. We've been having to suffer from the lack of resources, but there's plenty of resources when they come over here. It don't matter if we don't have enough shelters, we'll put them in a hotel. Oh, if there's not enough food, give them a debit card, let them get their own food. Okay? Food stamps, here, take $2,000-$3,000 worth of food stamps, and y'all go ahead and y'all just have fun. That's what's happening. And then when we call that out, that makes us like slave masters, because that's really what she just compared. Us advocating for lawful immigration to us being slave masters. That's really low key who she just compared us to. She just compared us to white supremacist slave masters, because we're saying, hey, there is an immigration law and these immigrants are breaking it and the government is subsidizing them for it. And that's not right. That's what she's saying. So don't play the whole, oh no, they were something. No. Nobody forced them to come here. That's the difference. They are coming here voluntarily and illegally. Big difference. No, and then nobody's forcing them to do a damn thing when they get here.
But if you don't know your history, you just may. So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right. No, we are not a country of immigrants. Immigrants did not build this country. Immigrants came after the country was built. The building of the country, the foundation of the country has well been established. It was already laid. There was already a growing and flourishing economy before any of these immigrants came over here, before the Homestead Act, before the Chinese immigrants came over and expanded the railroads, all of that stuff. We already established all of that stuff without them. They came after the fact. So no, this ain't no country of immigrants, because y'all came later.
Right. The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Okay, first off, people in that room probably don't want to farm, and there's a lot of people who don't want to farm, but there's a lot of people who also do want to farm. And you can't pay us enough to pick up. First off, let's really break that down, right? The problem with that is the fact that that's not all they're doing. They're not only coming over here and being farmers. That's not the only thing they're doing. When they talk about black jobs, they're not just even primarily talking about farmers. Every time we talk about immigrants, in particularly the Hispanic ones coming over and doing jobs, we always revert it, okay? And we confine the conversation to farming. And the conversation should not be confined to just working on the farm, because that's not the extent of what they're doing. All right. They're subjugating us, or they're undercutting. They're undercutting us in pretty much every single field. They're undercutting us in the fields of construction majorly. They're majorly undercutting actual Black Americans, FBA, in the fields of construction. And there's multiple different lawsuits and all reports to verify that as well. They're undercutting us in factory work. And this country is actually have an issue right now when it comes to factory work, okay? This country actually needs to do more factory work. And they're undercutting us as far as that's concerned. They're undercutting us as far as when it comes to housekeeping and hotel keeping and stuff like that. When it comes to that and being a janitor and cleaner, they're undercutting us in that market. Now they're undercutting. There's some of them are even undercutting us in the trucking market, which is why you're seeing accidents all over the place. They're undercutting. Anywhere they can, they be undercutting us. All right. They're undercutting to some degree when it comes to the teaching, which is why these schools want to hire bilingual teachers and pay them more money than actual certified teachers. And a black person who might be bilingual is still paid less than a Hispanic person who's bilingual. So the undercutting goes a lot in every single field. You can't really name a field where they not undercutting. Okay. And we're not even going to talk about the crimes, but they're undercutting that. They're even undercutting when it comes to the medical field. In the medical field, they're undercutting. So in every single field, we are getting undercut. It's not just farming, but let's talk about the farming. If we want to talk about the farming, let's talk about the fact that there's a lot of black farmers who are struggling to keep their farms, to grow their farms, to bring employees in their farms, to sell their product from their farms, and their farms are being undercut by the larger farms because the larger farms are saving money by hiring illegals to do their jobs, to do the work. So they're saving a lot more money on the labor aspect of the business. They don't have to pay as much in labor because they're exploiting all of the illegals who are coming over here willing to damn near work for free, while the actual real black farmers have to actually pay their workers to do that. They don't get to undercut in any way. While big business, the big farmers and the big corporations, they get to undercut. So it's not, oh, black people don't want to work on a farm. Black people ain't, first off, it's not picking cotton. Working on the farm and picking cotton ain't the same thing. We're not talking about cotton fields. We're talking about fields where carrots and stuff like that, carrots and strawberries and other fruits and vegetables grow, or dairy farms and stuff. That's not what we're talking about. And even then, you talk about there's no amount of money that you could pay a black person to go back on a plantation. Let me ask you a question. Do you think, when you look at this picture, do you think the problem, honestly, because let's get deep, do you think the problem is the fact that they were picking cotton? Or do you think the problem was the fact that they didn't have a choice to pick the cotton? Do you think the problem was the fact that they didn't want to be out there picking cotton, that picking cotton was so strenuous? Or do you think the problem is that if they did not pick a certain amount of cotton that would please their slave master, they would be subject to inhumane punishment? That was the problem. When we talk, yeah, we don't want to go out on the plantations and all that stuff. And there's a lot of black people who don't. The problem was not actually farming. The problem was not the agricultural aspect of that. The problem was the fact that you have a slave master that is forcing you to pick these large, crazy amounts of cotton with your bare hands. And if you pick less than what he desires for you to pick, if your quota of cotton in the basket is less than what he would like, you would be punished for it. So much so your life was at risk for not doing that. If you tried to run away, you would be hunted down by dogs and slave catchers and then drugged back and whipped in front of everybody, buck broken in front of everybody, if not hung in front of everybody. They would make a spectacle of your death. That was the problem. When we talk about slavery, it's not like, oh, cotton. No. It's the fact that we were forced to do it like cattle. We were not paid to do it. We didn't have rights to do it or not. That's the problem. It's not like, oh my God, a forest, wood, fruit. No, that's not the problem. The problem, there's not a single job in the world that we're doing today, right now, that a lot of people wouldn't have a problem with, but they would have a problem if an overseer was over a balcony with a whip in their hand talking about go faster or I'm gonna slash your back open. If you put anybody, even today with the modern jobs we have today, in those conditions, they wouldn't want to do it. It doesn't matter if you're outside picking cotton or if you're inside in the AC sitting in the chair at a desk. If you had some overseer looking over your shoulder every other second with a whip in their hand, ready to tear the skin off your back because you're not moving fast enough, that's a problem. The job in and of itself is not the problem. The conditions that you are living in was the problem, is the problem. So when you're talking about, oh yeah, we wouldn't want to go back to picking cotton and everything, and as true as that is, the problem, you see children out there. Do you think the kids have a choice to be there? There's children out there. This kid right here is about half the size of his father, or the man, or I'm assuming the man right next to him is his dad, right? Because there's I think another man behind. Let's say that's his dad. He's about half the size, and the little girl off to the side is only a little bit bigger than him. Do you think with a handful of cotton, do you think that they want to do that? Do you think that they have a choice? Do you think if they said, Dad, I'm tired, I want to sit down, do you think that their dad even could give them the permission to sit down and take a break? Do you think that they're like, okay, yeah, you know what, you have been working hard. Why don't you go get some water, okay? Why don't you go get some water and go sit down, let your feet rest a little bit, and you can come back later. They didn't even have a choice to do that. Working in America today, we could at any point in time we want to get up and go to the bathroom. We can say, oh, well, you know, I got to go. Hold on, I'll be back. At any job. They couldn't do that. They couldn't be all like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to go to the bathroom and everything like that. Or it's a little hot outside. I'm just grab my bottle of water off to the side. I'm going to go to the cooler, get my bottle of water. No, they were not like that. That was not the conditions. This is the problem. The problem is not, the problem is beyond. I'm not even going to say it's not. But it's beyond the actual picking of the cotton. The problem is the conditions in which the cotton was picked. The problem, because first off, we did more than just pick cotton. Our ancestors did more than just pick cotton. I'm talking about from the picking the cotton, from the sugar cane to the tobacco, to all of the agricultural, all of that stuff, as far as the like the fruits and vegetables and stuff like all of that. All of that, right? We didn't have a choice for that. We didn't have a choice. We did not have a choice for that. Our children did not have a choice for that. None of that stuff. When we were forced to be brick masons, there's still brick masons today. When we were forced to be plumbers, there's still plumbers today. When we were forced to be construction, there's still construction workers today. But they didn't have a choice with that. That was the problem. And that stuff needs to be compensated. And what's so despicable about this situation is that Jasmine is literally, she just said in this speech that she's going around trying to educate people on the necessity of immigrants. We got these are our Congress people who travel the country to go around trying to preach and educate the population on the necessity of another group of people coming into the country. Now, do they have tours as far as reparations are concerned? Do they have tours as far as anything on a black agenda is concerned? Do they? Because all of the tours, all of the stuff they talk about, she's literally willing to, and that's why I put this up. Just imagine.
To be honest, as somebody who,
hold on, she's willing to go around. She just said it in this interview. She's willing to do a whole tour going around the country, quote unquote, educating people on how necessary immigrants are. Cory Booker is willing to break records, standing there speaking for over 25 hours about Donald Trump and Donald Trump's policy and how much we need to protect Medicaid and Medicare. He's willing to do all of these things, but they're not willing to do that for reparations. They're not willing to do that for a black hate crime bill. They're not willing to do that for anything tangible for black people. Anything that would actually move the needle forward and benefit black people, they're unwilling to do. That's when they start dragging their feet. But you see them take initiative when it comes to other groups of people. They're doing stuff nobody even asked them to do, but they're doing it. You don't got to ask them to do it. They want to do it. They want to do it. But when it comes to black people, well, there's another vote coming up in like a month or so. And if my schedule is open, I might go to that one, see what they're talking about down there. Because we really got to study it, I guess. We get a study. We don't get this amount of drive and initiative that other groups of people get. Every single time you're in front of the microphone, you're advocating for them. We don't get that. I wish we did. It must be nice. It really must be nice to have you don't even got to vote for these people. That's the crazy part. The people that they're advocating for didn't even vote for them. It'd be one thing if they're like, well, these are my constituents. These are the people who put me in office. These people didn't put you in office. These people don't even like you. And you got their back. Oh man, that just must be nice. That must be really nice. I wish we as a people could experience such a thing. Even though we deserve it more than everybody else, it must be really nice. Because we don't get nothing remotely close to that. It's a shame. It's a shame. It is. But that's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Because if you're not going to advocate for us, that we still need somebody to advocate for our issue. So if you refuse to do it, Jasmine, if you refuse to do it, Corey, we're going to do it. It's going to get done. We don't need you to do it. You're supposed to do. You are the elected official. Of course, you're supposed to be the one doing it. But if you don't want to do it, we ain't going to sweat. We ain't going to trip. We ain't going to sit up there and sit on our hands and be all like, oh my God, ain't nobody looking out for it. We ain't going to do that. If you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. Since you, as the elected official, if you don't want to do it, fine. But reparations will be discussed, and it will be discussed properly. It will be discussed as far as tangibles, as far as cash payments, and as far as FBA. It will be discussed. And we're not going to sit up here and wait for y'all to bring the issue up because we can see you guys never bring the issue up. Court, 25 hours, he didn't bring the issue up. He didn't bring the issue up. Jasmine's going around. She's in a black church talking about immigrants. She's in a black church talking about trans people. She's not even in a black church talking about reparations. Probably one of the best places she could be talking about reparations. She's not even talking about reparations right there. She doesn't bring the issue up. Now, if it's asked to her, she'll say, yeah, I agree. I guess HR 40, I guess that's wonderful. But she won't bring the issue up herself. So, okay. Fine. Y'all just not going to win the next election. And by the rate in which you guys learn, which is very, very slow, it looks like you won't learn until the next few elections. It looks like you won't learn until the next few elections. But that's cool. Because this couch is very comfortable. And we don't mind sitting on this couch for a good minute. Yeah, we're very comfortable with this couch. We're very comfortable, right? I'm comfortable. If you comfortable on the couch, brothers and sisters, put the couch emoji in the chat room, please. I want to have a little survey right now and see who all is comfortable on the couch. Because I'm extremely comfortable on my couch. My couch has never been more comfortable. I am very comfortable right here. I don't have any motivation to get up and move. And it looks like with the midterms coming up, it looks like we still gonna be on this couch. Because this couch, y'all ain't no better option than this couch. Every time y'all open y'all mouth, the couch seems like it's a much better option. I mean, every time you say the word immigrants, I just sink down deeper in the couch. I'm getting to sitting on the couch, then I start leaning and laying on the couch. Every time you say the word immigrant, I start to lean more into the couch. So no, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. You can bring up your immigrants who ain't gonna vote for you. You can bring up your trans. There's not nearly enough for them to vote for you. It wouldn't matter if they all did. So it's okay. Y'all gonna bring up our issues eventually, but we're not gonna hold our breath. We're gonna sit on this couch and we're just gonna push the issue ourselves because we're gonna keep talking about it, which is gonna force you to talk about it. But you're not gonna get a single win in another election. They think that they can wait us out. They think that they can wait and try to force some type of hate. And this ain't because we MAGA. This isn't because we love Donald Trump so much. It's not because we love Donald Trump or the Republicans. No, at all. Not at all. No. But if you guys think that we're going to develop such a hatred for the GOP, so much so that we vote for you by proxy, no. You think that we're going to vote for you in spite of the GOP? That's not happening no more. Ain't no lesser of two evils. They're relying on the return of the status quo, and the status quo is the lesser of two evils. The status quo is for us to go back onto the treadmill of the lesser of two evils that gets us nowhere. And that is just over. That's over. It's never going to be a lesser of two evils thing anymore. It's never going to return. The status quo has changed. Ain't no lesser of two evils. If you're not bringing to the table what we told you to bring to the table, then you're not going to sit down. If we gave a list, you gave a list out to everybody, right? All of your friends and family, say it, right? Gave out a list. You said, okay, you bring this, you bring this, you bring this, you bring this, you bring this. Okay? I want you, Democrats, I want you to bring back reparations. Go bring back reparations, okay? I want you over there, you bring back like the hate crime bill thing. Okay, you go do that. I want you to bring some type of police punishment thing. You go bring that. You go do that. And everybody got their list. And then when you come back to the table, when everybody comes back, nobody got what was on the list. Everybody got something that was not on the list. Well, okay, I couldn't get the reparations thing, but I did bring Medicaid and Medicare. Okay, I couldn't get the anti-black hate crime bill. I don't know how I got one for the Asians though, but I couldn't bring that for you guys. But I did bring DEI. I got you some DEI though. I did get you some DEI. Okay. And then this one, I couldn't bring back no police. I couldn't like lock the police up or punish the police or anything like that. But I did get you a George Floyd and Emmett Till statue. Nobody is bringing back anything that we asked for. So when you say, okay, y'all, none of y'all can sit down then. Ain't nobody chilling. Ain't nobody sitting down. No, you're not gonna substitute what we want. It would almost be one thing if you got everything, but there was just one thing that you just couldn't get. Y'all not getting nothing. Y'all not getting nothing on the list. Everybody else is getting something on the list that's something that we didn't ask for. We didn't ask for no DEI. We said reparations, you brought back DEI. We said we said an anti-black hate crime bill, you brought back Medicaid and Medicare. But no. If y'all can't get what's on the list, you can't sit down. And that's just going to be the way going forward. Because before we was all like, something's better than nothing. Look, if we can't get what we want, it is nothing. It's nothing. It's worth nothing. If we tell you to bring back this item right here and you bring back something else, it is nothing. There is nothing we can do with this. If I tell you I need eggs for this recipe, I need you to go to the store and I need you to bring back eggs so I can make this thing, and you come back with a loaf of bread. I cannot substitute those things. There is absolutely nothing. I can't put chips of bread in the mix. I can't do that. It's useless to me. I can't make omelet with a loaf of bread. It is not. It's nothing. It's worth nothing. It is useless. Bring back what I told you to bring back, or don't bring anything back. How about that? How about we do that? So do now what they're going to learn, and it seems like they're going to learn the hard way. Do what I told you to do, or you don't have to do anything. But if you don't do anything, I'm not going to do anything. If you don't do anything, I'm going to sit my ass on this couch. How about that? There is no substitute to what we want. There is no, well, you got to understand, we couldn't do it. If you can't do it, I can't do it. How about that? We're just going to move it like that then. That's just how we moving from now on. It's not going to, all of the, well, you got to understand the greater good. I'm the greater good. I'm the greater good. What I want is the greater good. There is no greater good beyond what I said I wanted, beyond what we needed. No, there's no greater good. There's no wait. There's no other group of people need this real quick. Ain't no. No, we've been done that. Y'all abused the hold on, give me a second. Y'all abused that. You know how you loan somebody some money and they said, I'm going to pay you back tomorrow. I got you tomorrow. I'm going to pay you back tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes, oh, I'm going to pay you back Friday. Y'all have abused the I'm going to pay you back Friday. Y'all have abused that. To now, when it's I'm going to pay you back Friday. Oh, no, I'm going to need my money today. Oh, no, ain't going to be no Friday. But today is Friday. Okay, you thought today was Tuesday. You found out you was wrong. Today is Friday. I need my money right now. Today is Friday. That's what it's become. The status quo is completely changed. So if y'all don't want to bring up our issues, y'all gonna be the ones suffering from that, not us. Not us. Let me get this another super chat from my brother. Tell it like it is. He says it's going to be the return of the memory foam of my couch cushion. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's make sure our couches is very comfortable. Because it's looking like we're going to be sitting on that for a minute. Instead of that, if you guys don't have like the reclining couch where you pull the lever back, or now they got the modern ones where you push the button and the couch kind of fly back and your seat kick up, you might want to get one of those. My grandma had one of those stools that you just put in front of the couch. The small little footstools you put in front of the couch with a nice little cushion or pillow on it. And you just kick your, because it looked like we're going to be here for a good minute. So we might as well put a stepping stool or something like that for our feet to sit on. It might as well look like that. Let me see. Jojo, if you know what, y'all, let me ask y'all a question. This person in the chat room, Jago, is asking a question. Do you guys think, I want to, if you want to, we can do it. If you want to, we can do it. We can do it if you want to. Should we have the phone lines open so we can allow Mr. Jago the Rogue to ask the question? If y'all want to ask a question about it, we can do that. We can do that. Okay. So Jago the Rogue, if you have a question, let's see what your question is. Hold on for 1 second. Because this isn't an echo chamber here. So if you want to have a question, that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your question. I hope for your sake it's a good question. Because you done did it now. Let's see. Hold on for 1 second now. Let's see. Hold on. I got to set it up. I wasn't even planning. This is all improv. I wasn't even planning to do that. But I can't let Jago the Rogue not get his question out. That's not fair. That's absolutely not fair. Now, as I'm setting up the chat room, I need every single last one of you guys to hit that like button. That's what I need from y'all. Hit that like button. Hold on. Hold on for 1 second. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Wrong thing. Hold on. Oh boy, I can't stand this sometimes. Oh, hold on. Okay. Okay, so the phone lines are open now. The phone lines have just become open. What I'm going to need for you guys to do, and I definitely want Mr. What's his name to call in. Definitely want you to call in, Mr. DeJago, whatever your name is. So the number is 949-381-0044. That is 949-381-0044. All right. So come on. Where's he at? Well, I didn't even see his question. A lot of people saying he's trolling. He's trolling. So where's his question? I gotta actually scroll up to see it. I didn't even see what exactly his question was. Let me see. Now he had a question right now. Where you at, mister? Because you're gonna get blocked if you don't call in. It says, this is a black think tank forum, right? Never scared to weigh her good points, her bad points. Notice I said bad points. Brother, call in. Call in. The number is right here. If you're typing in the chat room all of this and that, you can call in. You can call in. Call in. What are you scared for? So we can have a dialogue about it, a respectful dialogue. Hold on. Let me see who this is. There's somebody on the thing right now. Let me get to you. I'm gonna get to you real quick. Just a second. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Accepting a call real quick. Is caller from area code 22, what's his name? 224. You're on live. What is your name and where you calling from?
Yo, what's up, Afro? This is Isaac from Phoenix, Arizona.
Isaac, what's on your
I saw
mind, brother?
Jago call. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly, because I saw
So
Jago's
hold on,
question.
just
So I just
let me
wanted to
be clear.
briefly
You're
say
not
something.
the Jago, right? You're not the Jago?
Nah, that's not me. Although I
No.
see he said he's going to call in, though.
Oh, okay. Okay, what's on your mind?
No, I just wanted to say, I noticed she's doing the same weird thing that a lot of these people do. You know, they'll do things like they'll order Chick-fil-A when it comes to, you know, certain rainbow events, or they'll go to church and say certain rainbow things. And I kind of just really points out the mentality that these people have. It's really a weird kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but demonic. Honestly, it's just not right. You know, you go to these places and then you speak the things that these people are in direct opposition of, and it's just not right. And that's a lot of it. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of these people just don't get down with her like that.
Yeah.
So that's really what I had to call in and say. So, you know, be one.
Black first, brother. Appreciate you. What would make you think it's a smart idea to go to a church and start talking about trans kids? What, like, okay. And you're the daughter of a pastor too. Like, that's backwards. But okay. What's his name? Jago, whatever your name is. Jago. Okay, come on, we waiting for you. But until then, we're gonna still talk to the family. Caller from area code 615. You're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Angelica Lena calling from Nashville, Tennessee. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, sister. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm not going to stay on this phone long at all. I'm just going to make sure you know what Jago's question is. I don't know if the mods told you. His question was, is she that bad? That was his question.
And she's that, okay.
And I will leave it there, sir.
Yep.
Black first.
Black first. There's another caller. Oh, where's a few callers? Hold on, let me see. And okay, appreciate you. We'll keep the because I ain't talked to the family in a minute, so we have the callers. It's where's the J go? Where's he at? Because he's the reason I opened up the call lines in the first place. So I'm gonna do like this. It is you got 2 minutes to call in. If you're not gonna call in, you were trolling, and then you're just gonna have to get blocked because we just don't do trolls here. How about that? But I'm gonna use this opportunity. I'm gonna talk to a few people real quick. I see some numbers I recognize. I'm gonna talk to a few of y'all real quick. But we're not gonna be here. Really, this should be for the Jago. But call from area code 28281.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, this Jago.
281.
Yeah, I was just asking, is she that bad? That's all. I'm just trying to weigh her good options against her bad options. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I've been on the line waiting. So I'm just trying to weigh her good options against her bad options. I'm just trying to get all of it. I just came on. I saw what was going on. I just asked a question. Then I started hearing everything. I didn't know she went to a church and started talking about trans kids before us. I ain't know none of that. Now, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. I don't agree with that. I'm just trying to weigh the options out. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm making a list of her good shit and her bad shit.
Okay.
And I'm gonna talk to her directly.
Now, you said the good stuff. Can you inform us about the good stuff? And particularly that pertains to us as black folk.
Okay, the good stuff, I'm calling good stuff really ain't because it's her job to fight for Americans anyway. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a lot of them doing that though. That's why I say it's kind of good because she's really one of the few black representatives up there saying something about the shit Trump doing and all these black folks doing. That's all I'm doing, bro. I'm just trying to weigh her good options against. I'm making a list of all her good the stuff that she does, so I can talk to her directly to ask her to do some shit there. That's all I'm trying to do.
Have you seen? Because we've done live streams. We've done live streams about other people in the about her in particular, and things she said about reparations specifically. Things she said about immigrants specifically. Have you not seen any of those lives? Say that again.
I'm going to go look that up because I missed those. I missed those.
Okay. So you really don't know. You don't really know about Jasmine.
No, I don't know about that part. That's what I'm saying. I'm just not finding out a bunch of stuff that she's been doing. Like this what's this new in gang or some shit? Some new group that she got going. Black group going. I don't know. Black activist group she got going. I don't even know. Hello?
Okay. Let me ask you a question.
Oh. Yeah.
What point in this, because you're listening to this, let's just say for the sake of the argument, you've never heard me say nothing else about her. You don't know nothing else about her. You know, we'll take that. What made
No.
Did I hold on? What did I say during this live here that made you feel like I was being too harsh on her? That I was exaggerating or being too harsh? Because for you to say is she that bad, that is you're responding to something I'm saying as if I'm doing the most, if I'm doing too much.
No, Afro, you're not. It's not like this, bro. It's not like this.
Okay.
At all. I had just got in the chat room. That's all going on. I just posted the questions before I even started listening.
Okay. So what do you think now? Now you said the positive things she's talking about Donald Trump. She's getting on Donald Trump. What are some of? Can you be specific about the positive things that she's been doing that you like?
Well, she's been calling out the Project 25 stuff. The stuff that's going on with the tariffs. How they're trying to take away, how they're trying to suppress votes. I mean, it's basically the same stuff that's been going on since Trump's first election. But it just seems like it's like less and less people, congressman is willing to even say so.
Okay, but
That's what I got.
How long have you been watching this channel? How long have you been subscribed? Or are you subscribed? I don't know if you are. How long have you been watching?
It's about the end of COVID.
Since the end of COVID?
Right before the end of COVID. Yeah, before the end of COVID.
Okay. So I assume you kind of
watching
I was assume you kind of like pop in here or there. You kind of watch off and on, so to speak, right?
Yeah, because sometimes my nerves get kind of bad, you know, and I'm trying not to walk out with bad intentions on my mind, like waiting for something to pop out so I just don't, you know. So I try to chill out and keep my mental right. And I just decided to check out what was going on.
Okay. All right. Well,
it's a lot of stuff going on, but I just started watching stuff. Damn, it was like 2 months. One time, then I started back, and it's just real fucked up with me because I was abused as a child in 7th grade by a Karen nutsack folk teachers talking about a lot about my broke ankle. I've been having issues with that forever. I was for a while I thought all white people was bad. So you got, and now I grew up in Louisiana too, so you kind of understand why I went with that one. But then it took church and Boy Scouts for me to realize that all white people weren't bad. But now it seems like I'm about to go back to where I got away from because this shit is just too overwhelming.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I don't want to get too off subject. Let's get to the thing. Let's assume that you haven't been watching this content, because if you watch this channel or other channels similar to this about Jasmine, we've kind of been exposed, Jasmine. So you must have like missed all of that. You must have been a minute since you watched the channel, because this is not the first, second, or even third time I've broke down a clip of Jasmine. So your opinion of Jasmine Crockett must not come from like the New Black Media at all.
Oh yeah, it comes from that.
Well,
but it didn't come from stuff that she does.
I'm really trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here, because I'm saying if you have seen any of our videos before, anybody, not even just me, but if you've seen any of our videos before, you would have already known what Jasmine Crockett is on. Like you're saying, you're listening here, and now you're finding out about her advocating for the trans stuff. This is not the first time.
No, I didn't know she went to a black church and did that. I just found that out while I was listening to you while I was on the phone.
Okay.
I was like, damn, that ain't right. That's not cool. That ain't what's up.
Okay, but what do you think? Okay, so let me ask you, what do you think about her just doing that in general? Do you think that is bad because it's a church? It probably makes it worse. But what do you think about her doing that just in general? Her stance on that just in general?
Oh, that's real bad. It's real bad. That's like propaganda.
Okay.
Like I don't understand what I think I do understand what she's trying to go with. If you're going there, right?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of her bringing up a black issue by herself? Her advocating a black issue by herself, or doing anything, saying anything for black people by herself without being asked about it?
Not really.
Okay. I'm trying to, it's difficult for me to really wrap my head around the positives that you see in Jasmine, really, besides not liking the opposite party, which there's no Democrat that doesn't like the opposite party or that likes the opposite party. You got Al Green acting the fool in the chambers. You got Cory Booker breaking records, sitting up there giving long speeches. You got all of them sitting up there showing out against the opposite party. So like, I don't, like,
I didn't know he didn't even say nothing about reparations during that either. I didn't know that.
You said what?
I didn't even know Cory Booker didn't say nothing about reparations during that record-breaking filibuster either. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's bad too.
Okay. All right. All right, brother. Well,
I'm just trying to weigh out what I'm really doing before I be like, X her off. Because it is a possibility that she could run into some trouble from the folks. And I'm just trying to see if she's gonna be left out there, it's gonna be left out there on her own, or is she gonna have some support?
Okay. All right. Well,
like she's gonna have too much.
Brother, here's the thing. You missed a lot. You missed a lot, and I'm, giving you the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming if you called in,
I ain't
and we on the
about
same
2 months,
page.
I
I'm
gotta
just
go
saying.
back.
Hold on. I'm not even trying to get on you. I'm really not even trying to get on you. There are videos. I've made live streams. I've made multiple live streams about it. Everybody doesn't catch every single live stream. So this is probably the first time I'm giving you because this is what you're saying. So this is the first time you're catching a live stream where I'm discussing Jasmine Crockett. All right. So you felt like I was doing a little bit much, or I was being judgmental of Jasmine, because that's what you were saying in the chat room. You were arguing that in the chat room, that I was being judgmental and I was doing too much for against Jasmine. That is what you were arguing in the chat room. So it going forward, if you don't know the good and the bad, when you come up and be all like, is she really that bad? And you're going to argue on her behalf and not know, because all of the rest of these people in the chat room, they've seen all of the other content I've done on Jasmine. So they've seen other people's content on Jasmine. So they are very well informed of Jasmine's get down. And you're arguing on behalf of Jasmine. And then when you call in, you talk about, based off of your words, you don't even really know Jasmine like that. So my thing is, you don't really know Jasmine like that, and I'm not mad that you do or don't, but you're arguing on her behalf, and like you're saying, now you're on the phone, and now you're having to admit that, damn, I didn't even know she was doing all of that stuff. But the second I said something that was unfavorable about her, you rushed to say, oh, she ain't really that bad, man, like I'm doing too much. And you didn't even know where I was coming from. You didn't even know the context that you were defending her in.
I just asked issue that bad. I didn't say what you just said. I asked issue that bad. Like I said, I'm trying to see what all she is doing.
Okay.
That's why I said I got to go back and watch the other clips you made.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah, that's true. And I hope everything. I know you've been through your own personal journey. I understand that, and I hope you do. I hope that continues and you continue to grow and prosper. I really do. I'm not against you. I'm really not. But I do want you to understand that you were coming into the chat room, and I'm scrolling through, because it's not like you just said that one thing. You weren't just saying that one thing. You were going back and forth with people in the chat room, because I'm seeing people reply to you. And that's one of the things, one of the reasons why I had initially addressed it is because I'm seeing some of my regulars reply to you. Not just one time, more than one time. I'm seeing them reply to you. So you're going back and forth. And I'm saying this for just brother to brother. I'm saying this to you. You're going back and forth with people over a woman, and then when you call in, now you have to admit, like, oh yeah, I didn't see none of the content about her beforehand. I didn't really know about her like that beforehand. And then in the context, I said before I even started playing the video, she's at an anniversary, a 125-year anniversary of a Baptist church. And let's say you did come in late, some people come in, whatever the case may be, but you didn't know that, but you're rushing to defend her. And I'm just going to say, from going forward, if you see me on somebody's bumper, brother, there's a reason. I don't just rush to make content about somebody. I'm not no clickbaity type of person. I don't just rush to diss nobody. If I'm addressing somebody, if I'm putting somebody on blast, that person deserves to be on blast. And maybe you don't, and you can disagree. You know what I'm saying? You can disagree with that or whatever the case is. But next time you wouldn't want to do that to yourself, because now everybody in the chat room is looking at you some type of way.
Hey, that's fine,
You know
bro.
what I'm
I
saying?
asked a question, and it seems like my friend is talking to me about it. That's all I was trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's, it's cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
All right, bro.
Okay. Well, I mean, we do have some callers on the line, so, let's be respectful, get to some of the other callers. Caller from area code 304, you're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Afro, this Miss Nisi, Charleston, West Virginia.
Miss Nisi, how you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing, baby?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, this is my opinion only. Good evening, family in the chat. Reggie Crockett, whatever. If I had been in attendance at that church, and I'm using church in air quotes, she wouldn't have, soon that transmission talk, it'd have been wig snatching time. Most of us who were raised in the church, today's church ain't the church we were raised in. You got too many charlatans and pulpit pimps, all about the money. This heifer is all about the money. She's doing the bidding of her white LGBTQ, whatever, the academy, to get that money. She's performative. She ain't interested in serving the people. She trying to get on. She wants to be an entertainer.
Yep.
In my opinion, both parties can, I'm going to be respectful because I've cursed one too many times, but sometimes cussing is necessary.
I agree.
But I will be respectful because this is your platform, and I will never do or say anything to jeopardize your platform. You are anointed, Afro. Please know that. You are doing the Most High and FBA work.
Thank you. Thank you.
And please know that your FBA family are praying for you, and the Most High hedge of protection is around you, baby. And I'm going to drop because I'm getting ready to shout and praise the Most High. God bless you, baby.
Thank you. God bless you too. Thank you, sister. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Let's get to the next caller here. We got caller from area code 404. You're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, my name is John, and I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, I didn't catch the whole show. I didn't hear.
I said, how you feeling? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. But I listened to I think the guy before the young lady just got off. And well, let me start with the politics with the young lady you're talking about. I heard her a few of her speeches, and I came up with the conclusion that she's about herself. She's not about people, and she was talking about the immigrants and how they make money, millions for America and all that stuff. Never said anything about blacks other than blacks are getting reparations because they're getting their roads and something else she was saying get fixed. I'm saying, okay, well, that happens with everybody. It ain't just black folks.
Yeah.
So that's not a reparations. But that's the way she, when I saw that I said, okay, well, she's with the I don't know, some of these people that are Freemasons or some of these people that fraternities, may not be all of them, but when they get up in that politician thing, their thing just is just like the mayor in New York. America's not racist, and that the mayor up in Chicago, Mr. Johnson, I guess that's him. giving all money to the immigrants. So these politicians are in a system, whether they be Masons, whether they be in a fraternity, or either both. And they're and you can even look at the Black Caucus. They don't say anything about reparations or anything pertaining to Black people, and they got this name. It's not really identifying anybody, but it identifies us, and they're not doing anything. So I think for us to put our faith and trust in them is a wrong thing. And you go back in the 50s and the 40s, 50s and 60s, when we didn't have that many politicians, but we were together. We before all this segregation came up, and I'm sorry, not segregation, but wanted to integrate and all this stuff that came up. We were doing okay. Yeah, we weren't at the top of the tier, but we took care of each other, and I think we got to go back to that. And people saying that about Trump is bringing back segregation. Segregation never left. Jim Crow never left. It just got real quiet. That's all it did. It never. I said that 2 or 3 years ago, before all this came, before he got reelected. So it's coming back for us to take care of each other, not these politicians. They sold out. They with their system, which is when you start looking at what they're doing, it's all Satan that they're worshiping. So, but I just wanted to comment on that. I just want to say I've been listening to you for off and on for a couple of years, and I've seen you grow, and I just want to just compliment you, and just want to encourage you to keep going. Stay strong, because you bringing up a lot of issues that's coming up and that need to be talked about. So I just keep on encouraging you to keep on. Right.
Thank you, brother. And I appreciate your support. I definitely do. So thank you. And I appreciate your call as well, too.
All right. Take care.
All right. You have a good one. All right. Let's get to the next caller real quick. All right. Here we go. Caller from area code 202. You're on live. What is your name and where are you calling from?
This is Jay from DC. How you doing, brother?
Brother, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. The gentleman right before my sister Denise, he really was vexing the hell out of me. It is too late in the game, and please excuse me, too late in the game to be turning around and grabbing the hand and pulling someone up to our level that just don't want to be there. I don't know what you need to see to have you with an understanding of what Jasmine Crockett is really about, considering the fact that every speech she makes is about transgender and immigrants. And when she mentions anything about us, it's always so derogatory, so disrespectful, and so dismissive. What more could you possibly need her to say to realize what point of view she speaks from? I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. She makes me sick. And I'm starting to wonder, is she a transgender tether? And I'll land my plane, brother.
Brother, thank you. That's why I was saying with him. And the thing is that I can, even though I disagree, I can respect the fact that he called in, because originally I didn't even think he was going to call in. But I can respect the fact that he did call in at least. And by the record, it looked like he had called in about maybe 2 times before. And when I'm talking to him and he's all like, well, I didn't know about the thing when it comes, I didn't know about her stance on this. That's messed up. I'm like, dude, have you not seen, this is not my first or second time talking about Jasmine. You must not have seen any of the content I've done on Jasmine Crockett or know that much about her. And yet you going back and forth in the chat room like, is she really that bad? You're watching the channel. You're not even going to just watch to see what I'm talking about before jumping to defend her. Because if you would have waited to see what I was talking about Jasmine, you would have realized, oh yeah, she is. Because on the phone, he's conceding to, oh yeah, she is really that bad. But you weren't saying that in the chat room. And he didn't say it one time. He was going back and forth. Now, I kind of was light on. First off, he's called before and he's brought up other issues about I used to hate white people and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know if he might have, with people like that, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? There's not, to me, a benefit of going off. To me, it's more beneficial to be educational and informative at that point. But I'm like, dude, now you looking, now anytime you come in the chat room, and I'm trying to tell them, now anytime you come in the chat room, they gonna feel some type of way about you. Because you literally just jump, and he wasn't really being honest. He really wasn't. Because it didn't make sense. I'm all like, well, what is she doing that the rest of the Democrats aren't doing? Oh, well, I don't see them really standing up to Trump. Okay, I don't know if you on the right channel or what your real agenda is. It sounds like you're a little bit too leaning more towards and then he brought up Project 2025. I'm like, I'm not even gonna go down that rabbit hole because I don't know how long you've been been here, right? But I'm all like, you listen to anybody's channel. If you listen to anybody's channel, you listen to me, even if you don't listen to me. And that's why I said other channels. If you would have listened to me, if you've ever listened to Tariq, if you've ever listened to Black Alpha, if you've ever listened to TBA, if you've ever listened to Professor Black Truth, if you've ever listened to Phil Scott, if you've ever listened to anybody who remotely talks about these things, you would already know about it because we've been talking about that. So okay. All right, that's why I'm like, you're not being honest. And I don't know if you scared about that. I don't know if you knew and you don't want to admit that you knew or whatever. I don't know if you kind of got maybe another issue going on. So the fact that you call in, this is a moment for me. I took it as this is a moment for me to let you know. Now, what you do with this information, that's up to you. So if he said he was going to go back and catch up, that's fine. He can go back and catch up. But as you just said, bro, we don't have time to sit here and recap everything that we've already discussed. Everybody else here is informed about how Jasmine gets down. Everybody else is informed about how Jasmine gets down. If you don't know, you're going to have to do the catching up by yourself. It's not my responsibility to teach you, to do a recap for you individually. You are too behind. That's why I say you behind. You too behind. And if you behind, it's cool. Like I was saying this the other day, it's cool to do a recap. I did it just in this very live stream. It's cool. Sometimes we have new people, but if you are new, then you need to kind of be quiet and catch up. Respectfully, you need to catch up because you're commenting something and you're going back and forth with people on a woman you don't know that at least you claim you didn't know. Let's get to the next caller. Caller from area code 267. You're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Afro? Lee, this is Curtis from Philadelphia.
What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, I just wanted to call because I think it was one of your shows. It might have been yesterday that you was talking about that pastor Dominique or something.
Dominique Alexander, I think his name is.
Yeah, Dominique Alexander. Well, I was looking at Tuesday on Alpha on Black Alpha, and he's a shield, man. He's a shield, and he's down with the alphabet suit, man. He's a shield. You know. Yeah. So you can check him because I was looking at Black Alpha, and he pulled it up. He's nothing but a Democrat shield, man. That's all he is. And he's about, when I say alphabet suit, I'm talking about the homosexual.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to call, man. Like I said, Jasmine Crocker, man. She ain't nothing, man. She's just a waste of time and waste of energy, man. And Cory Booker, man. 23 hours of nothing, man. Just You know, like I said, I just called and said, man, keep up the good work, brother, man. And like I said, man, and God bless you, brother. Okay.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate your call. Thank you.
Okay. I think you're welcome, brother. Okay.
All right. Let me see. Next caller, call from area code 216. You're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Brother Alpha, this is Mark from Cleveland, Ohio. How are you this evening?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Let me get straight to the point and land my plane. The gentleman you had called in, dude is just, what's that term? Cognitive dissonance, if I pronounce that correctly. I don't know, if he's suffering from cognitive dissonance, or is it the funk from Jasmine's wig that then, entered his nostrils. But I'm sorry, some of us is just not going to make it. And I understand you're trying to bring Brother Man up to date, but some people just going to have to follow the footprints in the sand instead of trying to follow the group. Okay? So I'm going to let my plane there, brother. Y'all keep your foot on these shields next, and God bless you. Be easy. Be one.
Be one. Thank you, brother. That's true. Because at this point in time, and the reason, why is this thing freezing up? Hold on, what's going on? Hold on. Okay. Thank you, brother. That thing froze up for a second. Let's be honest. Everybody's not as intelligent. Everybody is not as critical. Everybody does not. Most of the people here, we've been here for a minute. We're critical thinkers. It doesn't even take a lot of time for us to suspect something. And then if you give us enough information, we can come up with the conclusion ourselves. We can come to the conclusion ourselves. Most of us in the chat room, we don't need somebody to literally draw every little thing out for us. We don't. Now, all we need is people who are here to give you the recent information and to help push or not even push you in the right direction, but to clear things up. Okay, to give you proper, accurate information and to clear everything up so we can all reach the conclusion, because the leader is logic. With the code is the leader. Who do we follow? We don't follow a person, we just follow logic. So right here, what I'm not a leader of anybody. Right here, I am just a champion of logic. All this channel does is speak logic. It speaks truth to power. And everybody who galvanizes around people who speak truth to power, all I do is make it more clear. It's a lot of misinformation. It's a lot of narrative that people might not get. It's a lot of moving pieces around. And a lot of times people don't have the time or the resources to find all these moving pieces. So I'm here to show you all of the moving pieces and how the pieces are moving, and we can all reach that logical conclusion of what the situation is and then where we need to go. Everybody's not as logical. God bless them. I mean, I don't wish no harm on them or anything. I wish for them the best. Truly, I do. But everybody's just not that. Everybody's just not that. It's just not. It's unfortunate, but just everybody's not that. Everybody's elevator don't go up to the top floor. And I'm not trying to diss the brother. I'm just trying to say, if he was being genuine, brother, you definitely need to catch up, brother. All right. Caller from area code 657.
Hey, what's up, Afro, man? Hey, man, this D out of Cali. Yeah, isn't Jasmine Crockett district is out of state of Texas, right?
Yeah.
So why hasn't she even mentioned anything about, you know what I'm saying, anything about the case with the young boy out of Frisco, Texas, that's going to be tried for murder for the self-defense case? She's not rallying around the black community, any voters out of Texas, let alone across the country, to get us to have any type of faith in her, which we know she's bogus. We already know she's a crooked wig, performative actor. You know what I'm saying, for the Democrats. See, they keep letting us know time and time again with the DNC and all their puppets that they don't give a damn about the black community. They don't give a damn about none of our benefits. They don't give a damn about none of our rights. They don't give a damn about none of our votes. Because if they did, they'd be standing behind us and everything that we're fighting for. So, even with the other guy you just mentioned, I forget his name, Booker. Whether he's a tether or whatever he is, he's not. They don't give a damn about us. So we got to continue to keep pushing our narrative, keep pushing for our rights and our benefits and our tangibles, and continue to let the DNC clowns know. Look, man, we're gonna keep allowing the right to win, because if we don't get anything, if we don't receive our benefits, none of you guys, nobody's gonna receive no benefits, especially the DNC. So that's all I wanted to say, Afro. B1, brother.
B1, brother. Thank you. That's very true. The only time she's speaking up is she's speaking up on behalf of the Democrat Party, and she's going to be dead silent on any issue that is not going to advance the Democratic Party. Now, let me say this. I'm not exactly sure if her district includes Frisco, and to make a statement about it. I will say she could make a statement about it. It is still early because we don't have all of the evidence and the lawyers haven't officially made their case, like their statements known. So it's a lot of, there are reasons, let's be honest, there are reasons why that a politician wouldn't rush to make a statement about the situation, at least until the autopsy and more evidence comes out, because there's a lot of things that we don't know yet. So you can make that argument. But then here's the thing. When the evidence does come out, she's still not going to make a statement. She's still not going to say anything. She's still not going to acknowledge it. She's not going to speak on it. Why she's not going to speak on it is because first off, that's a touchy subject. The whole case is touchy. Two, she's not going to speak on it is because advocating for Carmelo is not going to advance the Democratic Party. And right now she's doing a campaign to advance the Democratic Party, but her side quest, which is really the underlying real quest that she has going on, is to advance her own profile and her own career. So more than likely, and I said this earlier in the live, more than likely what all of these people are doing is they're trying to advance their own profile socially so they can use that social popularity and leverage that for a higher political office. So to do that, you really got to stay away from the super controversial topics like this situation. See, we can speak on this situation because we're not trying to get white voters. She's still going to need the white liberal vote, which is why she can't go too hard for black people. Now, she can talk about black issues, but notice they only talk about the black issues that they feel like the white liberals are comfortable hearing. White liberals don't want to hear about no reparations or no hate crime bill or no black people defending themselves. So no, she's not going to talk about that. She doesn't want to make them uncomfortable. So she's not going to. So even though you can say, oh, well, it's early. Okay, it's early. I'll give her that. I will give her that. But I just know for a fact she won't speak on it. She won't speak on it. She's not going to speak on it. Because of that, she's looking at that like, yeah, that's not going to be good for my campaign in the future. I don't need people questioning me about that. Next caller from area code 609. You're on live. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, what's up, Afro? This is Jim calling from Trenton, New Jersey.
What's on your mind, brother?
You know what, fam? This woman she's real dangerous, man, because one, she's up here playing this role as a sassy girl, and you know, thing about nothing for us. they always do this thing where where they come. You see how she was talking? She was yelling, but y'all don't want to do no farm work. She had to go around and explain how much we need immigrants. No, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear them say we need them, these people are not like us, man. We found this Black Americans. We never had no sanctuary city. No, you know what I'm saying? New York never spent $6.9 billion on us. We never had free health care. Everything we did and everything we got in this country, we had to do on our own. California is not protecting us or giving us from deportation. Well, we can't get deported, but they protecting them. They getting all this. They getting all this help, and she's trying to convince them fools in that church that, hey, yeah, we need them because they feed us. And one of them talking about, yeah, I know that's right. No, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
These people are not just going to farms, man. They are supervisors at warehouses. I drive trucks. They supervisors at warehouses. They managers and the whole. No, I go in warehouses, man. It's nothing but them. I don't see none of us. So they trying to convince us, yeah, man. All they do is farm work. You think them legal immigrants in Chicago doing farm work? No. In New York? No. They sitting up in hotels getting free money in the whole nine. Why they come tell us, well, we can't do reparations. If we do reparations, I got a better plan. If you make under $50,000, like no. But they bending over backwards to do everything for these people, man. It's very disrespectful, man. I hate the little sassy thing she's doing. And these people in the church talking, clap her the arm, man. I just can't stand the family. I really can't.
Yeah, that's very true. That's true. When it comes to these, and that's what we were saying earlier. The whole, nobody wants to do farm stuff, and they keep trying to confine the conversation of us being replaced and our replacement essentially in the workforce to farm work. And I keep having to reiterate the fact that it's not only farm work that they're doing. And not to mention the farm work, just the resources. Because a lot of the health care that we get when we go to these clinics and things like that, the quality of that is going down because of all of them, because they're getting a whole bunch of free health care and stuff. We don't get no free health care, but they're getting free health care. So first off, the lines and the waiting period when it comes to appointments, that's longer. The quality of care is longer because the staff is now over. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of moving pieces that essentially, when you put it all together, they're lowering the quality of life that we were living prior to them coming here. That's it. The quality of life that we had before they came here was better. That's all that matter. That's all that matter.
Real quick, to see how much the Democrats care about us, man. Karen Bass, she backed one of those racist Hispanics out there for the council. I think he lost though. That's how much they care about us. They want to talk to this black woman is, but she had backed one of those city councils out there. Now look at this, Afro. You got the black ones. They cosplay as us, so they like, look, I'm black. But then you find out, guess what? I'm from Grenada. You know what I mean? And then you got the Hispanic ones. They undermine us too. We're coming in doing all, not taking our job. Like I said, we just said they doing construction, they doing landscaping, they doing all types of work.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats, this is intentional, man. To have them come over here and she trying to do her bid like, so we should go out there and be like, yeah, man, we do need them, man, because we ain't gonna be doing no farm work. While they saying, yeah, we doing farm work, whatever. While they in the warehouse being supervisor, manager, and all that, we still on the outside talking about, yeah, man, we do need them over here, man. Stop being xenophobic. No, that's not happening. And they trying to wait the clock out that we gonna say, man, I'm tired of Trump, man. So you know what? We better go back and vote for Democrats and be back on that treadmill. But keep up good work, man. Peace.
Peace, brother. Thank you. All right. Yeah, that's true. Thank you, brother. All right, let's get to the next caller. We'll keep it to about 3-something minutes. Caller from area code 719. You're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Tell it like it is. Calling out of Cali.
Brother, tell it how you feeling. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing as well as could be. Man, I just had to call in, and I wanted to let everybody know, let the whole B1 family know that there's a strange narrative this they're trying to push out here. They almost like they're trying to slip it in under the radar. So all of these different contents that's coming out online talking about how yes blacks tried to tell us and we voted for Trump and this and that and the other and now we have to deal with this. You know how they're trying to try to do that little message, right? But there's
Mhm.
almost like they're trying to sneak a little narrative in as if Kamala would have been the best, would have been like they should have listened to us and voted for Kamala Harris instead of Trump.
Mhm.
And I keep constantly having to correct people and say, no, we wasn't rocking with her either. You
Yeah.
know, so that's something that I keep catching, and now what I'm seeing, I don't know if anybody else is seeing it, but I've heard this narrative be put out there before, but it's almost as if Jasmine Crockett, she's out here trying to out sister girl Kamala Harris as if she's trying to somehow put her, she's like, kind of putting her Burger King crown in the ring for possibly running for a seat or, as, vice president or president. And, it's a long shot, but to me, that's what it seems like to me, what she's out there doing. Cause she caping too hard for immigrants. She caping too hard for the LGBTQ, and she's out there in church. She's taking it to the degree of going to a church, flipping her nappy wig back and forth with that little swirl in her neck and everything, trying to sound all ghetto and everything, and trying to put that sister girl attitude out like she connects with us, and then and trying to put out that narrative. So I think the B1 family should be real careful about this content that's coming out talking about what we should have, how they should have listened to us and this, that, and the other. It's like, no, because if you was listening to us, you'd have sat your ass on that couch too. Because that's what we talking about. We wasn't talking about it like Kamala Harris was the alternate, was the better choice. Now
Yeah.
land there.
Yeah, thank you, brother. And that's a good point. You're starting to see that a lot. There was an event Kamala was at recently, and I made a YouTube short about this. She was at some event and she was all like, "I'm not trying to say I told you so," but then she started laughing or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start hearing that a lot, like the whole where we, especially like stuff going on with the tariffs and all of that stuff. Anything from like the next 4 years, any bit of hardship or whatever is going to be oh, we told you so, y'all thought Trump was going to be a better choice. Listen, the point is that she had a chance. She had a chance to do the right thing. She had a chance to listen to what we were saying. She tried to do something different. She had a chance to deliver on our demands. This is really her second chance because she ran in 2020. That's when she said no.
Right.
So this is her second
Yep.
chance, her second time at bat, and she missed again. So this isn't like, oh,
Yeah.
well, you should have listened to me. No, you should have, like you said, and I like the way you said it. You should have listened to us. She messed up her chance. And then now they're gonna try to flip the narrative like we messed up by not putting her in charge. Everything that we do, if anything, we should be the ones like, hey, y'all don't like what Trump is doing, then y'all should have listened to us. It's not like they gonna sit up
Right.
there and got the audacity to be all like we told you so, and almost gloat about,
Right.
see, this is what y'all get for not listening. Well, we gonna keep not listening.
Right.
Y'all the ones who need to be listening to us,
Right.
because y'all somehow got it backwards, thinking that we as the people serve y'all. That's backwards. That's not how this works.
Right. Right. And that's what I keep correcting people on too. I keep trying to tell people. I keep telling people, saying, no, we're not, saying we're not sitting up here. We're not sitting up here jumping on our desks and throwing temper tantrums and having a shit conniption just because we're going through some some issues with Trump because, well, if anything, Trump was upfront about what he was going to do when he got in the office. So we already knew we was heading for this. We already knew. We saw that coming. So Kamala's, laughing and cackling, talking about "I told you so," and then you had a bunch of mammies cheering for her, laughing and cheering for her and yucking it up. And what they don't realize is that if she'd have gotten office, if she would have gotten office, she'd have continued letting all of these illegal people in here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't have been long before one of them ended up, snatching one of their purses or some shit, because it's not about, this one is not the narrative that we want to push about, oh, okay, well, yeah, okay, so we just letting people in, and it's not like we carefully vetting them. We was carefully vetting them, and we was letting them in, and it was doing right with the vetting process. Yeah, that would have been cool. But the problem was you was letting them in indiscriminately. And they wasn't, you know what I'm saying, and you didn't care who you let in. You just put them on the plane and you just brought them here. Or you put them on the bus and you bust them out to these so-called sanctuary cities. You know what I'm saying? And then but right there, that made all of y'all, really the whole Democratic Party, that made y'all look like y'all are the single most biggest threat to this country's national security when you did that.
That's true.
And we're not gonna sit here and mince words or tiptoe through the tulips with these assholes. This is exactly what they did. They pretty much put the national security of this country in danger with what they did. And so now you want to see, so that's all I have to say about that.
That's very true. That's very true. And they didn't want to acknowledge it. One of the things, because I'm gonna say this real quick, brother. For pretty much the last 4 years, or really like the last 3.5, it was just open season, letting all these immigrants just run wild, coming to America. I'm talking about they were crawling under barbed wire and cutting the gates and stuff like that, just charging in here, invading into the country. And then they were getting bussed all over the country. And we were told that all of this stuff was false information from Fox News. We were told that none of this stuff was really true. Every single person at the border was being vetted. There wasn't really a crisis at the border. They tried to downplay all of the issues at the border. Then Biden picked Kamala to be the border czar. She went over there, did absolutely nothing. And they said, oh, there's really no border crisis. That's just a false narrative. That's a false narrative. These are asylum seekers and they're being vetted and everything is going great. Then it was, and the thing is, they couldn't fool nobody. So they came up with some janky bill right before the first debate between Biden and Trump, which got canceled. The bill got killed. And then they were all like, well, we tried to find a bill. But the problem is that you already let them over here and you've been doing that. And we can clearly see what type of page you on as far as immigration is concerned. You only now trying to fix the problem right before the election. Right before you start doing the interviews and everything like that, you're like, okay, we're going to have to clean this up real quick. So then right before the election, you know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, well, let's kind of calm down on all this immigration stuff. After you just allowed the borders to be open for 2-3 years, and now you want to chill out on it. No, y'all caused the problem. First off, we've been had a border problem for a minute, but we've never in the entire history of America had a border problem to that degree. We've never had a border problem even half as bad as it was under the Biden administration. And this is one of the things that when you ask Kamala about, she said she would do nothing differently than Joe Biden. And that was it for a lot of people.
Yep. She did not. She did say that. She said that out loud and clear too.
But thank you, brother. I appreciate your call.
Yes, sir.
Good brother, tell it like it is. Sometimes you got to chop up with the family. Let's get to the next caller. Caller from area code 240. You're on live. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Afro, how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. This is Sister Stephanie from Maryland.
Stephanie, how you doing, sister?
I'm good. So, first of all, this woman ought to be ashamed of herself because back in the day, we had decorum. Okay, we had decorum. We had class. We didn't do anything to offend Christianity. Okay, and now she's talking about I'm sorry. Now she's talking about transgender and immigration. First of all, one, it's disrespectful, and two, it's an abomination against the Holy Spirit. And she doesn't advocate for us. And what she needs to advocate is her dried up hair. She needs a silk press, and she needs some Just For Me for her hair and lay that hair down. Okay.
Yeah, for real.
But I'm just going. But I'm just going to land there. Just keep doing what you do, brother. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate your call and I appreciate your support. I really do. Thank you.
No problem.
And that's a good point. Now, hold on, let me put the number back up. That's a good point. That's a good when you let's say first off, and here's the part about it that's crazy. She's the daughter of a pastor. It's not like this is the average person who might have went to church here or there. You're literally the daughter of a pastor. You should be the most respectful. You should have the best decorum ever. Okay, you should be an example of how to behave in a church. Since you grew up in one, you should be a perfect example of how to behave in a church. And here's the thing. Even if, let's say she's not Christian now. Let's say that for a second. We know to respect other people and other people's faiths. We know when you go to people's places of worship that even if you don't believe in their faith, you still should do your best to respect their religion and respect their place of worship. Okay, we wouldn't go to a masjid eating some bacon. You wouldn't go around a bunch of Muslims eating no pork chop, or in the masjid eating a pulled pork sandwich. Even if you eat pork all the time, you wouldn't go there. You wouldn't go to like a Buddhist temple eating a hamburger. You wouldn't go to the church and be all like, I think the Bible's made up. I'm saying, even if you believe in all of that stuff, you would know that is not the right time and place to do that, because that's disrespectful to those people's faith. It is beyond insane that she thought it was appropriate to any degree to go into a church. This is an anniversary of it. It's an event. It's not like you just going on to church on a regular Wednesday. This is an event of a church, and you gonna go there, black church in particular, and you're gonna go there and talk about, as the black community, we need to talk about how we ain't been doing right by the LGBTQ community. And essentially they don't want to say nothing, but they are like, okay, come on, you already know this goes against the religion. You know this goes against our faith, and you in our church that we've invited you to, and you almost lecturing us about it. That's insanely disrespectful. That is wildly disrespectful. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Let's get you caller here. Caller from 304. You're on live. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Take two. This Miss Nisi.
Miss Nisi, how you feeling? Well, you already called, but what's on your mind?
I've been listening to everybody, but the reason why I called back up for the second time, B1 FBA family, no more apologizing, no more bowing down, no more going along to get along. stand 10 toes down, and if we have to cuss motherfuckers out, cuss them out. And I'll end there.
That's true. That's very true. Thank you so very much, Ms. Nisi. I appreciate you. All right, let's get to, we can wrap it up right here. Let's get to caller from area code 919. You're on live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Antonio Burnett, aka old FBA bastard. I just want to call in, man.
Real quick, where are you calling from, though? Where are you calling from?
Calling from North Carolina.
Okay, all right.
Chatham County, North Carolina. I just want to say, you know, first of all, we already know about Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible. Everybody knows that, you know, why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And anyway, but I wanted to give you an angle to check on too, if you don't mind. I noticed that I've been around here, man, and I've been around like Latino places, and I've been around black places. And I know that they'll push that homosexual stuff on black people, but I've never seen them push that into the Latino community. And I haven't really been around the white community to say whether they do or not. But I just noticed that I've been around a lot of places, and they've always pushed that homosexuality into the black community. And one day trying to like target our kids or something with that. You know what I mean? And I wonder if you could look into that sometime down the line. You know what I'm saying? And plus, I want to give you big ups on the way you handled the brother Jago, because let me tell you something. A lot of our people are politically, what they call them, politically, when you don't know that much, illiterate. And we have to understand, because he thought it was a big thing that she was going in on Trump, but he didn't realize, yeah, she might have been going in on Trump, but she ain't said nothing about black people. And we have a lot of our people that's still politically illiterate, that's praising her for talking that junk to Trump, when she really ain't saying nothing. Yeah. If you can't say, out of 1,000 words she said, you can't even pull out 5 good words out of it towards our community. So that's a good thing there, because there's a lot of brothers like him that also going to have to be educated. But then again, I want to make one last thing to you, though, my brother. Look, can you look into that though and check in that? Because I know, FBA, we give receipts. I don't worry about that part. But I want to know, are they pushing this homosexual stuff on other people, or they just trying to push into the black community and try to affect our kids and stuff? Because they always talking about birthrights and things. And I'm gonna lay in there and you go with it. Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me speak on that for a second. But that is, I think that about do it as far as the calls are concerned. I appreciate every single last one of you guys for calling. I really do. We have some good calls. As far as that agenda, it all goes back to, there's multiple reasons, but it goes to the way they push it is population control, which is a real thing that they're trying to do. That's why when it comes to what they call reproductive rights and everything, you see that really, really, really pushed to black people. When it comes to all of what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing would say, non-reproductive sex, okay? Sex between man and woman can reproduce, okay? And the dominant society encourages non-reproductive activity in black people. Notice how that is also coupled with the promotion of women terminating their pregnancy. Okay. There is a promotion, and a lot of it's not that hard to see, but a lot of people don't want to see it. They're willfully ignorant of it. It's a promotion from the dominant society to program our community into engaging in non-reproduction. They don't want us to produce anymore. Now, they don't have that problem when it comes to the Latinos. So they don't promote that when it comes to the Latinos. Now, they'll make the argument, oh, the Latinos don't want to hear about that because they're Catholic. No. You guys don't mind the population of Latinos. Y'all have an issue with our population. According to Joe Biden, the white population is dying off, and that's an issue for him. And that's been a growing concern because the white population really in the world really is dying off, you know. So they don't want us to become the majority, or large enough majority to take control of the system. So a lot of this goes into reproduction. The it goes into reproduction. The term is really depopulation. Also, because it's specifically when it comes to the men, a lot of that is buck breaking. Okay. A lot of it is buck breaking. A lot of it is because they know for a fact, as a man who is naturally, because men are naturally going to be masculine. I don't care what people say. And of course, we can have a conversation of the variations of it, because it's not like a one size fits all. Of course, we know that. Well, we should know that. But there's variations of it. But in a man's core is masculinity, just like in a woman's core is femininity. So a part of the masculinity of the man, just naturally, especially of us, just naturally, is a sense of fighting and sacrificing for the greater good and for justice. All right. It's not to capitulate and acquiesce to a system of oppression. So what they have to do is they have to buck break, especially prominent figures, and they have to make examples of very prominent figures to, by proxy, lower the courageousness that already exists within us. And this stuff is really broken down really well in Buck Breaking, the documentary. So I would recommend that. But those are some of the things, because they understand that right now there is a threat to the system of white supremacy, and they're trying their best to neutralize the threat. So depopulation, they definitely need depopulation to go on. Okay, that's something they've been pushing for the longest time. If you even look up Margaret Sanger, she said that she wanted, and she was a white lady, she said she wanted abortion. She was pushing abortion. She was like the grandmother of abortion, and she was a avid racist. She was a staunch racist, and she said she wanted that to depopulate black children. Because she didn't want she wanted to depopulate black children. Y'all can look up Margaret Sanger. All right, that's the truth. It's either the truth or it's not the truth, and it's the truth. You can also look up cases of buck breaking. So with this, they feel like this is their best avenue, or one of their best avenues, to neutralize the threat, because we're the threat, neutralize the threat to the system of white supremacy. All right. So this is why we're the only community that has this agenda pushed on us. All right. And I know people are going to bring up there are people, and let's be honest about it, there are people who are a part of the alphabet community who are still on code. You got some, and I'm not going to dismiss them by saying that, well, if you're not straight, you're not on code. I'm not saying that. I'm not. But I am saying there is an agenda that is being pushed. There is an agenda that is being pushed, because it's beyond just your sexual orientation. It's beyond that. They want the lifestyle of a man being feminine. Okay. And every time we speak about this subject, it becomes this gaslighting thing of, oh, you believe in toxic masculinity and all that stuff. It becomes that. So I want people, even the LGBT brothers and sisters who are on code or whatever the case is, don't feel like this is a personal attack, because it's not a personal attack. But we do have to understand that that is being used as a weapon by white supremacy. All right. Also, we have to understand that as far as the church and everything like that, everybody just don't see it that way. Everybody doesn't see it that way, especially people who have religious backgrounds, people who are very religious. They're definitely not going to see it that way, because it goes against their faith. Okay. Now, your opinion might be different from somebody else's opinion, but as long as they are not doing anything to make your life more difficult, as long as they're not doing anything to harm you in any way, to disenfranchise you in any way, you can respectfully disagree with their opinions. This is one of the things that we need to stop doing. You go to the church is not going to accept all this trans stuff. They're just not going to do it. And you shouldn't try to make them. You should not try to make them. If they're not stopping you from doing anything, if they're not going to stop you from doing anything, that's their belief based off of their faith. Let them have that, and y'all can respectfully coexist. But they're not. They're going to have you're going to face a negative reaction trying to force that on anybody. Because most people honestly just don't believe it. It just, when you actually scrutinize it, you find out it doesn't make sense. But okay. And then let me go on to the second part of what you just said about the brother who called in, which was really the reason I opened up the phone lines in the first place, is to address the brother that had called in. And I want to say, we do have to understand that we've been doing this. A lot of people who've been here, we've been here for years, and we've been learning for years, and based off of us learning, we're becoming sharper. We were already sharp. We were already logical. But as we start learning more, as we start seeing and analyzing more situations, we're just getting sharper and sharper and sharper. And then you will always have newer people who are coming in and they want to do the right thing. They want to learn. They want to be on code and they want to be a part of the movement, but they're not as sharp. They don't know. Let's be honest. They don't know. So we have to be, and I'm not even just talking about him as an individual, but we have to be graceful to the people who want to be on board. Okay? Because I don't want this to be if you disagree with anything I say, and then we also have to be respectful enough to have room for disagreement. Okay? As long as you're respectful with your disagreement, we can have room for disagreement, and then we can engage in a dialogue about a respectful educational dialogue about it. So we can all, because the whole thing is we need to be on one page. So as long as we can all be on one page, we can have a respectful dialogue. And whether we agree to disagree or we find a way to agree on a point and then move forward, that's fine. If we all moving in the same direction. Okay? Because everybody's not going to agree on everything. But we do, as a movement and as a people who are growing, we do need to be, to a degree, I'm not saying waste time. And I think that a lot of people understand this. But we do need to be graceful to people who like, hey, I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. Because let's be honest. At one point, that was me. At one point, it was probably a lot of people in the chat room. It was probably a lot of people listening live, where we thought something, we had strong opinions about something. Turns out we were wrong. And we probably made arguments. Let's be honest. We probably was arguing about one thing one time and then found out, oh man, I was wrong the whole time. I was sitting up there arguing with my full chest about this thing and I was wrong. And then after you're wrong, you wind up correcting yourself and you never go back that way. And I want that for a lot of people. Because I've been in that position. Now, we're not going to waste time. That's why I said, hey, I got the videos. You gotta do the homework yourself now. If I'm a teacher here and I'm looking at your grades and I can see exactly what you don't know. I'm looking at your grades, looking at your assignment. I can see what you don't know. I don't have the time to walk you through every little question, but I am going to tell you what chapter you need to go to learn everything you need to learn. I'm not going to look at a bad grade and say, get out of my classroom. I'm going to look at the bad grade and say, okay, well, this is the homework that you need to go to. Don't leave if you're here, you're in the right place. And that's a good thing that you're in the right place. Because I didn't get the vibe, at least when he was on the phone, I didn't get the vibe that he was trolling or I didn't get that. I get the vibe that he was uneducated and ignorant about it. All right. And we're all ignorant about something. Don't leave the classroom And if I got on here and I just started clowning, and I could have, if I got on here and started clowning him, he probably, man, this channel ain't for me. I'm not listening to none of that stuff no more. Okay, I don't want to be embarrassed in front of all these. And no, don't leave the class. But here's your homework. Now, you are going to have to sit at the back of the class. Now, you're going to have to catch up now because we on chapter 10 and you sitting up there asking questions about chapter 3. So you got a few chapters you're going to have to catch up to. And as you are catching up, you need to be quiet because you sitting up there arguing with people about something in chapter 5 and you still on chapter 3 and they on chapter 10. So now you coming into class looking like the class clown. You looking like you don't know nothing in the class. And it's not my fault. You shouldn't have said, I don't know why you say it with your whole chest. You've been saying that. Okay. Now everybody in the class know you don't know nothing. You did it to yourself. But it's okay. You're still welcome to come into class, but you just sit in the back and you let me know when your homework is done. And then we can all learn together. Because there's still a lot of learning I'm doing. It's still a lot of things I don't know. I don't know everything. Nobody does. There's a lot of stuff that I'm still currently learning. Okay, and to a degree, we are all still learning together. Even the teacher, we're all in a continuous state of learning. So, it's as long as the heart is good and the intent is good, we'll find a way to work with you. But be quiet, sir. Okay. Because if we trying to get to chapter 11, we don't need nobody sitting up there asking questions about chapter 3. I'm gonna take my time with you after class, but come on, you're holding the classroom back. See, that's when I'm gonna get mad, when you're holding the classroom back. Let me get to my brother. First off, let me get to the Cash Apps. No, sorry. Let me get to the Cash Apps real quick. Shout out to my sister Pamela. Shout out to Pamela. I appreciate you, Pamela. Thank you. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I missed your show. That one girl missed the show. Let me see. And then let me get you Latrivia. Latrivia, appreciate you. Thank you very much. And then let me get you my brother Cyberdine sends a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, thank you and New Black Media, 5 years and still learning. Oh, wow. Yeah, 5 years. This channel this year is going to be 5 years old. This channel is going to be 5 years old this summer. So that's interesting. 5 years for me too. I've been listening longer, but 5 years for the channel too. Yeah, we're all still learning. We're all still learning. But here's the thing though. If you don't know, and one thing that needs to stop happening is the people who know the least talk the most. That's bad. We got to break that habit because that's when people get impatient. That's when people get frustrated and irritated with you. People get irritated because you don't know, yet you arguing stuff with your full chest. You don't know, but yet you standing 10 toes on something that you don't know about. Don't do that. Don't do it to yourself because you're not even going to make no point. You're not going to convince nobody else. Everybody else know. I'm seeing you going back and forth in the chat room. Then you call up and you talk about you don't know nothing about her. You don't even really have a good point to stand on in her defense, but you're doing it in the chat room. Now, if it's an ego thing or something, you don't want to be clown, then don't say nothing. If you don't really have something you can stand on, it's best just to listen. You didn't even really have any issue with what I was saying. The second I said something that kind of like grind your gears a little bit when it comes to her or made you feel a little uncomfortable, you were saying something. If you would have listened long enough to understand this is what I'm saying about her and this is why I'm saying it, you would have saved yourself the embarrassment by listening and learning before saying something in the chat room. And then me having to pull you to the front of the classroom and having to educate you on chapter 3. You would have saved yourself that embarrassment. If you would have listened, you would have been like, you know what? I want to know why he feel that way about Jasmine. I thought Jasmine was cool. And then now he said he'd been listening since for some years now, off and on. I don't know how he missed all my content on Jasmine, but let's say he did. I guess it's possible. But if you feel this way, if you know me, you should know, like, I wonder why he feel this way about. Let me go look up and see about Jasmine. And that's just still me giving him the benefit of the doubt that he hasn't seen any of my other content about Jasmine. That's still me really giving the benefit of the doubt with that, because that's not likely that you don't know my stance on Jasmine or our stance at all. Period. That's unlikely. But I still gave you the benefit of the doubt. I still did. And then our beloved sister Stephanie says, "Thank you, Afro, for all that you do. And like you said earlier, I'm going to keep sitting on that couch." Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate you. We're not rushing to get off this couch. If they think that they can wait us out, if they think that we're having buyer's remorse, they're going to learn the hard way that we're not. Because they're going to keep campaigning. They're going to keep trying to raise money. They're going to keep wasting their own time. And they're going to see it's not working out for them. Because there's no amount of time that they can wait us out. The waiting us out phase is done. They should have learned that. There's no waiting us out. It will be doomsday before you wait us out of this couch. It will be. I'm trying to tell y'all that. It's not going to work where y'all get to think that, okay, well, we're not even going to compromise. We're not going to compromise. We're not going to say, okay, well, we'll take a substitute. Okay, we'll hook you up now, but you pay us back later. Ain't no paying us back later. Ain't none of that. We want the money up front. Ain't no more IOUs. We've been doing that with politicians, and we've been doing that in politics for the longest time. Just get me in there and IOU. I got you. I got you when I get in there. Okay, I know I said I got you, but I had to deal with this other thing going on over here. I had to deal with these other people going on over here. So just I got you. We've been dealing with the I got yous for generations now. Ain't no more I got yous. Ain't no more hold on. Ain't no more wait till next Friday. Ain't no more just give me a little bit more time. No, time is up. Time is up. And if you don't have it, get on. Shout out to Cyberdyne. Again, he says, listening promotes continued learning. That's very true. That's very true. And that's something that we need to do. And bro, if you follow me for that long, you should know. That's what I'm saying. Like, you should know. You should know. But okay, let's say he didn't. I don't see how, but let's say for the sake of the argument, he didn't. He should have, though. And you were standing on something that you was so wrong on. Is she really that bad? Because you don't like Trump? Oh, and we're not here to be champions or fans of Trump. But it seemed like if you bringing up Project 2025, you might have missed a few live streams. I don't know what's going on, brother. Or if you were following for as long as you said you were. Because he did say it was off and on, but I'm like, okay. Family, yeah, that's the thing. We all learning. We all learning. But it's my responsibility not to let the class fall back. Because I could have spent like a whole 20-something minutes talking to him about Jasmine. I'm not about to waste that time. Because that's not just wasting my time. That's wasting your time. I'm not about to waste your time. I'm not about to do that. Oh, no. Thank you. Thank you, Nisi. The anniversary, thank you. I'm saying that this year is going to be 5 years. It's not 5 years as of yet. Thank you. I appreciate that. The 5-year anniversary of this channel is going to be in July. It's going to be in July. It's going to be July 7th. It's going to be July. Is it going to be June? I think it's, yeah. July 7th is going to be the anniversary of this channel. All right. That's going to be when the channel first started. All right. Hold on. Let me see something real quick. It's almost going to be that. Let me see exactly the date. Let me check out the. No, my bad. June. I said July. It's not July. It's June. So June 7th, this channel is going to be here for 5 years. Okay. So yeah, we've been here for a minute. We've been here for a minute. We've been spitting game and teaching people and putting folks on blast for a good minute. And I'm proud of it. And we've learned so much since then. Yeah, time flies. It does. Time really flies. Yes, it does. 5 years. And I can start reminiscing because there's been ups and downs, man. It's been ups and downs. It's been ups and downs. But overall, this whole thing has been a blessing. It really has. It really has. Okay. But we've been on here for a good minute, brothers and sisters. I appreciate every single last one of you guys. Y'all can follow me on my Afro Elite social media, which is Afro Elite on Instagram and Twitter. And I say that because a lot of times, people say that they don't get the notifications, you know. So if you don't get the notification, especially if you don't get the notifications, you definitely want to make sure you follow me on at least one of my social media platforms. So that way you get the notifications, because I always put notifications out on my social media platforms before I go live or before I post a video. So that way you don't miss out on anything if you do that. All right. Also, make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button. Brothers and sisters, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed. Okay, double check. You know how they double check and hit that notification bell, so that way you also get the notifications. All right, because sometimes some people don't see all the live streams. Apparently, clearly the brother didn't have his notification bell on. Now, if you had your notification bell on, you would have seen my videos about Jasmine Crockett. You would have seen the live streams about Jasmine Crockett. If you would have seen the live streams about Jasmine Crockett, you wouldn't have said what you said in the chat room. See, that's what happens when you don't have the notification bell on. Now, come on now. I'll be saying it all the time. You got to have the notification bell on, because you don't want to be looking like a fool in the chat room now. You don't want to do it. So you got to have the notification bell on. Come on. Family, I appreciate every single last one of you all for being here. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you watching. Black first to every single last one of you all. You all stay blessed.